Azura Amphitheater, August 26th. 2 headliners, 1 night. Turnpike Troubadours.
On a long, hot summer day.
And the Avid Brothers. Get your tickets now for Turnpike Troubadours and the Avid Brothers with the Old 97s and Caitlin Butts at Ticketmaster.com. Turnpike Troubadours and the Avid Brothers. Don't miss Turnpike Troubadours and the Avid Brothers, Saturday, August 26th at Azura Amphitheater. Presented by Mammoth.
McCarthy Auto Group presents the 2023 Honorary ESPY winners, brought to you by All Weather Decks and the Kansas City Mavericks. Your female high school athlete of the year in
to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
I read a Thursday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. Woo, a lot of stuff to get into and talk about today, man. Look, as the football season approaches, there's going to be more and more jam-packed shows. I mean, there are some times when we are like, let's figure out what we're going to talk about today. But there are some things that have written themselves and got us ready for today's show. Here's how it lines up. 11 o'clock, we will talk with Ken Swanson from KC Sports Network. We will hang out with him. We'll get his thoughts on this Chiefs team preseason game number 3. Some things around this game and the Chiefs. Who's the backup quarterback, the QB2? What does he make of the fact that Andy Reid said the plan was for Blaine Gabbert to get the night off? And Shane Buechele yesterday saying he was surprised when the second half and he wasn't going into the game and all of a sudden it was Blaine Gabbert. So why the change? Why the 2 orders? Why the 2 orders? If Santiago wasn't to be touched, and your orders are always followed, why they need to be transferred?
And if there's anyone who knows the importance of a third quarterback, it's Kent Swanson. I mean, he got through college as a third quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to let that one. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. He's not here to defend himself, but it's still
sure
pretty
isn't.
Good. Still pretty good.
I'll say it to his face.
Yes. So we'll talk about that, the offensive line, anything he's most concerned with that does not include defensive line, and certainly we'll get his thoughts on Chris Jones and what's going on right now with the Chiefs and Chris Jones, or what is not going on right now with the Chiefs and Chris Jones. We'll talk with Adam Teicher coming up at noon from ESPN. Chiefs Insider will hang out with him for a couple of segments talking about this Chiefs team and wrapping up their preseason. And where do they go from here with Chris Jones? The Chiefs luncheon going on today. We think we'll get a chance to hear from Mark Donovan today. So we'll see what comes of that as the show progresses. And then, of course, Sports or Leisure coming up at 1 o'clock, presented by Johnny's Tavern, giving away $25 to Johnny's Tavern in a little game of Sports or Leisure. I'll tell you this, one of the categories is going to be Chiefs holdouts. So we'll do a category with that. Study up on your. It'll be on the test.
Can't
all right.
be that long of a list, right?
Surprisingly, there were a lot more than I remembered.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot more than I remembered. So Sports or Leisure coming up later on in the show. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. The text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Here's what I want to start with. How serious do we think Week 8 is? Like, just initial reaction, just knee-jerk. I know that it's, been a day since the whole Week 8 and 2 words for you, suck it, and I can afford it, all of that stuff. But, just in general, how serious do we think he is about Week 8 in a X post? or a tweet.
I'm not going to start calling it an X post.
I'm going to call it Arrowhead, no matter what. How serious?
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, with a lot of logic that I can give you when we unpack it, like a 3, maybe a 4.
Dylan? We'll go 1 to 10. I like that. On a scale of A to Z, where are you at? I don't even know what letter that is.
I'm going to say a C.
On a scale
or
from
a Y,
alpha to omega.
I don't know that many other.
He is so beta. He's such a beta.
Wow, that's a real beta move, Dylan says.
Move. Wow.
Dylan Michaels says Chris Jones is a beta.
That's a beta move. 1 to 10, where you at?
I'll go with Josh's area, 3 to 4, that region, basically.
Okay, 3, 2, 4. All right.
The common range.
Interesting way of presenting
Thinking out loud,
I'm at a 1.
All right.
Like, honestly,
I thought I was going to.
Like, honestly, I'm at, and here's why. When I read that, the first thing you read is like, oh, bleep. We're talking about, is he going to play week 1? And now all of a sudden he's saying week 8. The more I think about it, the more, to me, week 8 is sort of like, you remember that invisible ink that you would write, and then like you would then like color over it with a different pen, and it would pop up, right?
Love invisible ink.
So like the week 8 is sort of the invisible ink that we can see, but then when you write over it, it's really says none of your business.
Yeah. It really says suck it.
Yeah. But none of your business. When are you returning? None of your business. Week 8. That's what I'm. Week 15. Burger King. Like I don't. Wendy's. I don't know. Like that's what Johnny's Tavern. That's when I'm returning. Okay. Pickleball. Just name anything random that you can throw out. Sesame Street. That's what I think week 8 is none of your business. I'm returning when I return. None ya. That's what I'm returning. Like I tell my son, none ya. What's none ya? None ya business. All right.
I think that's a good specific way of decoding it, though, where it is exactly that. When are you going to be back? Stop asking. Week 8. How about that? You like week 8? Stop asking. It doesn't mean actually week 8. It means I'm not going to tell you on Twitter or X or whatever. It's a little convoluted, and so I don't think I'm going to be able to sift through all the numbers in a way that makes a lot of sense over the airwaves. But Joel Corey had a whole bunch of tweets in the last 24 hours.
Which I want to get into.
Okay, good. Because the gist of it, in my understanding, is Chris Jones sitting out games this year. He loses money this year. He loses money in the future. Not just in terms of, you got to get that year of your contracted toll, which being back on week 8 would accomplish, but it changes what his franchise tag number would be next year, which would make it even easier for the Chiefs to tag him and then either say, we'll do this again. Who bleeping cares? This has been toxic now for 18 months. We'll sit on it. Or, yeah, we'll tag you at $21 million. Moving you on that number, that'll be pretty easy. We'll tag you at 21 or 22 instead of 31. Thanks, Chris. You did us a favor. It doesn't make financial sense. My extra little bump, the difference between me being at a 1 and maybe being at a 2.5, is that I don't know what kind of advice Chris Jones is getting. But I have not seen a pattern of behavior from Chris Jones that makes me think he's getting very good advice. Because I just don't know what we're accomplishing at this point, and I don't understand the vision anymore, which we've talked about as time has clicked on. Every day that ticks further, I'm a little more surprised and a little more frustrated because not even at Chris Jones and not really even at his agents, although I have my questions.
I do too.
But how did we get here? It's August 24th, and they haven't been communicating.
I don't think anybody really thought we'd be here August 24th.
Don't think so.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes talked about it. Andy Reid is becoming increasingly annoyed, and I don't think he's annoyed at the media for asking. I think he became annoyed at the media with the day-to-day and pummeling, and then I'm just going to do the one, because it became like an everyday, like, okay, what's the latest? When's the last time he was asked about Chris Jones? Like last week, I think.
Yeah, it's once a week or something.
He wasn't asked on Sunday or Saturday after the game. He's not going to be asked Saturday after the game unless Chris Jones reports on Saturday or something like that. Then he'll be asked. He won't be asked Saturday after the game. They got a bye week or whatever it is. So when's the next time the Chiefs are going to talk? Monday before Monday of the Thursday.
It could be
so
Sunday,
Labor Day
which
or
is weird.
Sunday,
but the way that the schedule works out.
Yeah. So who knows when he's going to have his typical Monday press conference the week of a game.
Right.
And if Chris Jones is not in at that time, he'll be asked about it, certainly. If Chris Jones is in, he'll be asked about it. And then that'll be it for this part before the season starts. So he's becoming increasingly frustrated, and I think he's becoming increasingly frustrated in the fact that this situation is just happening, that it exists right now.
Yep.
I don't think he's frustrated with the media for asking. I don't know that he's overall frustrated in just like, I'm pissed off at Chris Jones because, damn it, you're selfish. I think it's just, here's where we are, and there's no communication, and they need to get that done. They need to communicate, get it done, because we're trying to win a Super Bowl here. We've got a lot of things on the line that we are trying to do. Tex says, I'm at a 0. He's not missing week 1 at home. Says, I think he's here either Saturday or Sunday. I mean, I don't expect him to miss week 1, but I didn't expect him to hold out. I didn't expect him to miss the first 2 preseason games. I didn't expect him for the Chiefs to return to Kansas City and him still to not be at camp. I certainly didn't expect on August 23rd to hear that the Chiefs and Chris Jones' side are not communicating right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things I did not expect here. So I get that part of it to where, look, man, he's going to play week 1. I'd love to have that same confidence. My confidence or how serious is Chris Jones about week 8 is at a 1. My concern of him not being able to play week 1 is probably a 5.
That's a different question. That's
Yes,
what I was going to ask
absolutely.
the texter the same thing is, all right, you're not concerned. Why are you not concerned? Are you not concerned because he's not going to miss a game check? Because he could report on Wednesday not playing that game, and technically he's with the team. Now, if he can't play the Chiefs, we talked about this with Aaron Donald, that could also get contentious. He could report tomorrow and need a, quote, air quotes here, longer ramp-up period. If Chris Jones wants to be in the building and causing problems, he didn't do the hold in St. Joe. Maybe he does once they're back here in Kansas City. Maybe he does say, hey, the regular season's going on. I'm just not quite ready yet. I think that would all backfire, though. That would be another, in my opinion, false move in a series of ones that I just can't feel very good about at this point.
There were a couple things that I took away from Nate Taylor's piece at The Athletic talking about, this latest with Andy Reid saying no communication and what's going on. And he's been on top of it with the contract and what Chris Jones would like and where this whole thing is. And he said Wednesday was the next benchmark moment in the negotiations for the Chiefs, and it came and went. So yesterday was the next one where the Chiefs felt was a benchmark of, hey, Wednesday before the final preseason game, because there are no practices Thursday, Friday, and then they play the game on Saturday, then it's essentially you're getting ready for games.
Yep.
Because the install and getting ready for the Lions is happening right now with the Chiefs. They are game planning. They are putting together game plans and sprinkling that into practice right now. Chris Jones isn't there. He's a veteran. He can figure it out. I think if they say, hey, Chris Jones, go get the quarterback, and then, hey, I think he'll be perfectly fine.
It's not a new defensive coordinator,
Right.
It's the same defensive line coach as last year.
And Nate Taylor says the next one is September 1st. So the next benchmark for the Chiefs is September 1st. It's a week away. We'll see, because that would be, essentially 1 week from them playing a football game. Then you're into full week mode. Then you're into losing a game check.
Yep.
Then you're starting to lose some money, some real money. I mean, the fines are going to come. If he's out that long, the fines are going to come to $2.25 million. Now you're missing game checks is essentially $1 million a week that you're going to be giving up. It's been $2.25 over a month and a half. It's going to be $1 million every single week that he would be missing. That's a little bit of a different, price point for somebody to say, no, I can afford it. Also, we can get into that whole part of it of I can afford it and things like that. But this being a benchmark from the Chiefs on Wednesday is interesting, because if it was a benchmark, then why aren't they communicating? Why is there no communication? Is it just simply the other side is trying to call the other side's bluff, and the first person to call is the one that admits weakness, and they have lost leverage?
And in with that in mind of all the fine math and everything there, one of the reasons I think you can, again, I don't know, I am making the differentiation here between Chris Jones and his agents, not because I know exactly where every beat is coming from, but because I frequently will say the Chris Jones camp, all of them. And we don't really know who is leaning on the scale in what places. With that being said, whatever logic got Chris Jones to sit out training camp and to rack up these $2 million in fines, that was all with the logic of, what's $2 million in fines to get out of training camp when you're going to get $90 million guaranteed here in a couple of weeks? $2 million now, a small price to pay. Now, if you're saying, hey, well, here's their last offer, we don't think you should take it, you should probably go ahead and report on September 1st so you can start getting these game checks and we'll try again next year. That's very, and we may already be past this point, I don't know. I think Chris Jones sitting out a game is probably my guillotine deadline of oh no, he's just not, this will be his last season with the Chiefs. I don't think that makes him trade him in week 2 because I think there's still no value there, but I think it can just be, all right, man, we'll just be toxic, you get here, we'll do what we can. But when you don't have another contract theoretically a month away, then the question of I can afford it really does matter. I think Chris Jones probably has a nice little nest egg. I think his bank account's doing fine. I'm sure he could not play football ever again and live a very comfortable life for generations to come on the money he's made in football. And good for him. He's earned it. But you've got $1 million a week coming if you do the thing that you love. And no one's ever questioned if Chris Jones loves football. This isn't like a cop-out for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not out there. And it's all, at this point, what feels like it almost has to be nickel and diming in some ridiculous places that makes me question everyone on all sides of the negotiation.
Everybody acknowledges the importance of Chris Jones to this team, how much he means. Even if you say, trade him, tired of him, you can't destroy the cap moving forward if you pay him all this money. Even if you say those things, you still acknowledge the importance that he has on the team. I think there's a difference in breaking down what the Chiefs can be with and without Chris Jones on a holdout as opposed to something else. I want to hear from Dan Orlovsky. This is from NFL Live yesterday afternoon. And they spent a good 6-7 minutes. Dan Orlovsky, Field Yates, Louis Riddick, talking about what Chris Jones means to the Chiefs. They went through the numbers of when he's on the field, what the QBR is and the pressure rate and things like that versus off the field, what the QBR is for the opposing quarterback. Here's Dan Orlovsky asked about the impact for the Chiefs if Chris Jones sits out the first 8 weeks.
He's the third most important person on their team outside of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Yeah. Best defensive player by far. And I look at those first couple games and I go, these teams are going to run the football down your throat. In 15 days, with Detroit coming to town, they'll run the ball 35 times right at them. Detroit and Jacksonville and Chicago. And we just showed those stats of him as a pass rusher, but my goodness, trying to stop the run would be a headache. And I know, it's Kansas City, and I know it's Patrick and Andy Reid. I'm not trying to disrespect them. If they don't have Chris for 8 games, they're going to be fighting to get into the playoffs. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them. But it's also disrespectful to every other team in the AFC to think that they could be without their best defensive player for 8 potential games, and it won't have a drastic impact on their football team.
Here's what I would say in leading into that clip. Are we viewing it and discussing it differently because it's a holdout and not being there, as opposed to I present a hypothetical that the Sunday, September 3rd, an injury report comes out that Chris Jones partially tore his meniscus, and he's going to be out at most 6 weeks. They may take it a little bit easier, probably look for him to return week 8 against the Denver Broncos. Would people go, I don't know that they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not sure. They're going to go, it's still the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. They'll be able to weather the storm, and when he comes back, the back end of their schedule is where the real games are. He'll be there for Miami, Philadelphia, Green Bay, Buffalo, Cincy, at Los Angeles. He will be there for those games. If they can find a way to get through that first part of the schedule, they can survive this. They'll be fine. They can still win the division. I think we're talking about from a holdout. It's the AFC is amazing. Are they going to fight? Are they going to miss the playoffs if you don't have Chris Jones until week 8?
I think it's a great angle. I love that because I think you're 100% right that if it would be about, oh, well, it's the mettle of this team to hold it together. Like you said, weather the storm. Can Tershawn Wharton take a leap? And man, what an opportunity for Danny Shelton. Like that's what it would be if you were waiting for, all right, well, then it's going to be a little time for him to get back in football shape. But by those games down the stretch, he's getting back up to full speed, and then he looks like Chris Jones. Heck, maybe an even healthier, less worn down Chris Jones by the time the playoffs come around.
That's a nice spin on that one.
The spin. We could spin this thing for days.
It's like a top. Just stop it wherever you want. Oh, it's Chris Jones will be better. Take. Spin it again. Chris Jones is rested. Spin it again. The Chiefs can survive. Hey, let's make this.
Legs. I mean, come on.
Let's spin this damn thing.
But the alternative here is this feels. I don't even think Orlovsky's doing this on purpose, but I do think this comes with the conversation. It's like, oh, the Chiefs have like a culture problem now. Like one of their superstars is unhappy and choosing not to be there, and it's every day. It's not, hey, Patrick, have you talked to Chris, through his rehab as he gets healthy? Is he in good spirits? That was the phrasing in a question yesterday was, are you talking to Chris Jones? What are his spirits like? But it is coded like a hostage negotiation as opposed to a rehabilitation. And I think that is a fascinating angle. And I now think that just the remainder of this season, let's just work on figuring out how we can spin things in both directions, just to really show people how far this machine can turn a topic.
Yeah, we'll just have like a wheel that will spin, and then it's like, okay, here's now the way that you have to present this. Okay, the Chiefs will be fine without Chris Jones all year. Hey, look, they've got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I mean, they've got Steve Spagnuolo. He'll find a way to put pressure on other teams. And the Chiefs, you know what? You give if you take the restrictor plate off Patrick Mahomes, can they go out and score 40 a game? How dynamic this offense can be. The offensive line is better. We're
it's
seeing
gonna cut the offense loose. I think it's probably, this seems like a Fallon bit. One of the late night shows has like the karaoke wheel or whatever, and it's Miley Cyrus sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" in the style of Janet Jackson. It's like, what? Okay, and then you have to figure it out. I think maybe that's what we do. It's all right. Put a positive spin on Chris Jones's holdout in the style of Mike the Mad Dog Russo. I think that's a good game.
Good afternoon, everybody. Chris Jones isn't there? Are you serious? You think that this team can make the playoffs without Chris Jones?
Oh, this just came up on Kadarius Toney's injury will derail the offense in the style of Denny Matthews.
And gone, Kadarius Toney.
A little more apoplectic.
Sorry. And gone, Toney. We'll see how long. Even if he returns, hell, you may only get a couple plays out of him. What's the point?
I think this is a great. I think we've unlocked something beautiful here.
Why even plan on a Kadarius Toney? More like a nowhere-ish Toney, if you follow my drift. Speaking of drift, there's your drive. And gone. Chiefs playoff hopes, really.
Bang! Done! I mean, scene! We can do this. I don't know that I have the impression bag that you do, but I know I can put a spin on something.
It's a small, limited bag.
I tell you what, Jason, I think your bag is spectacular.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would say likewise, but I don't want it to get weird in here.
That'd be a weird thing for this show to do. Be weird.
A couple of texts have weighed in. I think it's a good point, and we'll take a break. But just we didn't even get into the fact of Dan Orlovsky saying if Chris Jones isn't there, the teams are going to run it down the Chiefs' throat. We didn't even get into that part.
We didn't. There were several things in there that I went, but
run it. Okay, please. Yes. We're going to run?
Chris Jones's greatest, my comp for Chris Jones coming into the league was Vince Wilfork. And I mean, that's really what he does. He just stuffs the middle.
I'm like, if that's the case, then great. They'll take the defensive tackles that they actually have a decent amount of and then keep Leo Chanel on the field and feel pretty good about it.
The Lions might actually try that anyway, but I think they might. The Lions might try having Dan Campbell walk out and like an open Nick Bolton's mouth, like down his throat, run it down his throat.
It would make no sense that a team would go, they don't have the best pass rushing interior player in the league and a guy who makes everybody else on that defensive line better. In fact, we look over there and we don't see a threat to stop us or pressure us from throwing the ball. Let's hand it off.
Here you go, Jameer Gibbs.
Let's just run the damn thing.
Jared Goff had the best year of his life last year.
Yeah.
We'll run the football.
Should we just do quarterback sneaks the whole time?
The biggest difference for Jared Goff, like this gulf between when he's pressured and not pressured. Let's not test it. Let's just run the football.
In fact, I would say without Chris Jones, probably the strategy for the Chiefs offense is just to take the air out of the football. Because you want to keep the other offense off the field without Chris Jones. So you want to have more time of possession because time of possession equals real football. Right, Josh?
I don't think I can play this spin the tape game anymore. I think that was the end for me.
Josh, your wheel is, as Josh Brisco, defending how important time of possession is.
Let's take a break.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Well, I always wanted to learn the impression of... All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. 913-912-4810. A lot of texts coming in. 913-912-4810. I do want to get to some of those. So we've been talking about Chris Jones. One of the things that I wanted to get to is the financial implications of how serious he is about Week 8. And this is why I don't think he's serious about Week 8. This is why, as I said to start the show, when he said Week 8, that to me is none of your business. When are you going to return? Week 8, shut up. Leave me alone. Another text came in and said, did he really tell a fan to suck it? He didn't say suck it. He sent the fan a meme of Triple H that says, I've got 2 words for you, and then ... And the Triple H, I've got 2 words for you, and he pauses and the fans yell, suck it. Didn't tell he just said, I got 2 words for you. It could be, love you, God bless. You know, there's a lot of different things that the 2 words could mean. You know, oftentimes Triple H would change it up. I've got 2 words for you. Love you. You know, you never know. It just depends on what goes on behind the scenes. So that part of it, like I have.
You think that's what he said to Matt Ryan?
Yes.
Do you think he told Matt Ryan to suck it?
I got 2 words for you, Matt Ryan. Whoa, that's a penalty. What? You don't tell Matt Ryan 2 words. You give him a damn paragraph, Chris. You show some respect. You bend the knee to Matt Ryan, damn it.
That's funnier. That he got flagged for saying, I got 2 words for you, and then never finished the sentence. Like, come on, man, don't leave him hanging. Flag. 15.
Come over here, finish it. I actually want to hear what you have to say. I just threw the flag just to give us more time to hear what you had to say. I'm genuinely curious as to what you were going to say to Matt Ryan. I think it might be profound. I want to hear it. But the financial part of it and why, Week 8. Joe Corey was tweeting about a number of different things financially. So if Chris Jones returns Week 8, he would have incurred a loss of $9.83 million. He would lose $7.58 million in game checks and a $2.25 million fine. So a total of $9.8 he would lose. If he returned Week 8, he would lose $10 million that he'll never be able to get back. So the fines and then the game checks. If he misses 7 games, this is where there is zero chance of him sitting out 7 games. The franchise tag number.
Yeah.
If we're at a point to where Chris Jones feels like they're not going to give me this long-term deal, we're at a stalemate, then I've got 1 year left with the Chiefs, and then I'll figure it out after that. Well, then you want to get as much money as you can, right? That's why you're holding out.
Yep.
The way the franchise tag works is it starts to be based off of what the cap hit number would be. So Chris Jones cap hit about $29 million this year.
Yep.
So if he misses 7 games and you look at his salary this year, according to Joel Corey, the franchise tag number for Chris Jones next year, if he misses 7 games, would be anywhere from 23 to 24.5, depending on if he got the sack incentive. He ain't going to get the sack incentive if he's missing 7 games.
Yep.
So the franchise tag number next year for Chris Jones, if he missed 7 games, would be $23.25 million. If he plays the entire season, and based on his cap hit, Joel Corey, former agent, Chris Jones' franchise tag number in 2024 would be $33.6 million. Let's do some simple math here. If he misses 7 games, and then the tag happens as well, he would make over 2 years $36 million. If the Chiefs franchise him and just say you're going to play. And if he wants to sit out then, now you're losing even more money that you ain't getting back. Now your 29 and 30-year-old season is toast. $36 million. If he just by missing 7 weeks, he would make $36 million over the next 2 years. If he misses 0 and the Chiefs tag him and he plays under the tag, in 23 and 24, he would make $52.6 million.
And that tag would be fully guaranteed. When
That's right.
Franchise tags are guaranteed.
For missing 7 games over a 2-year span, he would lose $18 million over 2 years. You think the Katz brothers are going to advise their client to miss 7 weeks? And it's not even potentially. That's the max he would get in 2 years from the Chiefs, unless they then came to some agreement on a long-term deal. But why, after this year, if he missed 7 games, would the Chiefs then go, well, now we're going to give you whatever you want?
We'll give you more money after a half season than we did after you looked like Aaron Donald for a year.
That's exactly right.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. So the most he would get if they franchise him and play him is $36 million. Yeah. What he can get right now if he shows up and is active for week 1, even if he doesn't play much, but he doesn't lose a game check, active for week 1, and the Chiefs say, we're just going to go through the season, we'll work on it next year, we're going to franchise tag you. I know you're not happy, but we're going to franchise tag you. He'd make roughly $53 million in 2 years.
Which I do think is kind of interesting in the negotiations altogether when you talk about guaranteed money the next 2 years.
Yeah.
You can just have 50-some million guaranteed right now if you want it.
Yeah, 2-year cash flow of $53 million. He's getting $20 million this year. That's essentially $33 million next year of added cash that he would, if he, takes it from that standpoint of just in 2 years. Financially, that is absurd. And if the Katz brothers are really trying to make a name for themselves, they're not going to be the agents that have Chris Jones and some also-rans on their Rolodex and cost their main client almost $20 million.
Another part of that maybe this is a little encouragement for...
By the way, to try to get like $8 million more guaranteed.
Right, yeah. A little more in guaranteed money that is currently slipping through your fingers.
Yeah.
Maybe this is an encouragement for Chiefs fans who are very stressed out right now. I think one of the reasons that this has gone as far as it has for Jones, the Katz brothers, all that, as we've mentioned, you've seen the agent or the client list. It's Chris Jones and a couple of former Chiefs and Jody Fortson and a bunch of dudes. But if you look at it from the agency or Jones's perspective, this is the peak of his value. He is coming off his best season, and he is at the hump of when you begin to see a player decline with age. I think Chris Jones could have another year this upcoming year that looks like last year. I think the year after could look like the year prior. I think he's going to have a nice smooth bell curve where he's going to continue to be the best player on this defense for years.
I agree.
But waiting and doing this again next year, he has a little less leverage. Even if he has another excellent season, if he takes one step back this season and tries to renegotiate next year, well, now they're paying him off of a slightly lesser performance the year prior, and more importantly, another year just on his age. It is just 1 year advancing, and that's bad for your leverage. Maybe that's something. Here's where I'm spinning this into a positive. If that's the logic, then I think they've surprised me a few times. I think the most the Katz brothers could then say in reasonable faith to Chris Jones is, it's going to be ugly. We're going to drag it down to the last second, and then we're going to take whatever's there because it's the best offer you're ever going to have on a contract. Doing this in a year is not going to help. Maybe that's when they just say, all right, we are here. We are going to get you on the field for week 1. That's our deadline, but we're going to get you paid right now. The funny thing is if he just plays out this year and then says, yeah, tag me next year too, and I'll do the same thing, and I'll show up for week 1. I'll take my $50-some million, and then I'll see if the Jets, I guess they're a bad example. They just paid Quentin Williams. But then I'll see if the Lions are interested and hit free agency and see how it works. I understand where that could also pay Chris Jones handsomely, but it just makes sense to guarantee what you can right now.
The Katz brothers remind me of Jerry Maguire right now.
I was afraid this was going to be a reference to a movie I haven't seen.
Oh. Well, so the premise is this guy's... So in the movie, spoiler alert.
Go ahead. I feel like I've missed the window.
Jerry Maguire splits from Bob Sugar. Huge agent, okay? And he's left with essentially one client, Rod Tidwell. The Katz brothers split from
Rosenhaus, right?
From Drew Rosenhaus. And their main client is Chris Jones. Jerry Maguire made his name by helping Rod Tidwell get a huge contract. But that was also playing that one season and saying you're going to play, you're going to play your ass off, and you're going to earn a huge deal at the end of this year. Although that was his wife that told him that. Spoiler alert. Jerry Maguire told him to sign the contract because if you get hurt, you get nothing. Okay. And Jerry Maguire wanted the money because he was broke. Broke. It's a line from the movie.
Sounded like
watch it. Can't wait for it. You should say, you know what? You had me at hello.
Check it out.
You had me at Fantastic Bag. Rod Tidwell ended up getting the big deal. And then everybody was like, you know what? I want Jerry Maguire to be my agent. Because look, they're hugging, and Jerry Maguire and Rod Tidwell are so close, and they're crying together. And athletes are like, why don't we have that relationship? And all of a sudden, he was attracting all these big names. The Katz brothers are Jerry Maguire. Only this ain't a movie.
Yeah.
And Rod Tidwell didn't give up $20 million by missing games.
What was the role of training camp in Jerry Maguire? What's the St. Joe equivalent?
Rod Tidwell did not hold out.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there the whole time. And at one point, Jerry had Cush, the number one pick in the draft. He didn't even have the dad didn't even want to sign a contract because his word is strong as oak. Of course, he then signed a contract with Bob Sugar behind Jerry Maguire's back.
You've seen it, right, Dylan? You've seen Jerry Maguire?
I have, but a long time ago.
Okay,
so
that's all right. That helps at least a little bit.
I know exactly.
You don't have to
all
see
the
it now.
references.
I got you.
Yeah, I feel like I've
gotcha.
pretty much nailed it now.
I got you. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 W.
from ESPN, Chiefs Insider, and Sports or Leisure.
Yeet.
We will play that today. Yeah.
Get some cats-based trivia, maybe. Agent-based trivia.
Text says, yes, but Jerry Maguire is fiction. Nobody pops up from a... That's not what the text said.
Oh, okay.
Let me start over.
Some typos in that text.
913-912-4810. The text says we'll get this at post.
Edit this out, Dylan.
Post.
Dump all this.
Says, yes, but Jerry Maguire is fiction. Nobody pops up from a concussion like that. Which is true. You would know if you saw the movie.
The film.
Rod Tidwell was knocked unconscious on the field.
Oh.
Catching a touchdown. And people just stood there and were like, get up! Get up! Come on, Rod, get up. Get up.
And he was like, oh, okay, sure.
He's just laying there. By the way, everybody's just watching, saying, get up! Hey! Woo-hoo! What do you say? Get up!
He's got like little birds and stars
Get
swirling
up,
over his head.
What do you say? Up! Receivers up!
That's kind of wild.
And then he pops up, and the crowd started cheering, and he's like, okay!
I'm back, baby.
And then he's running around, he's jumping into the stands, and he's celebrating and everything. It's a very good point. People don't pop up from a being knocked unconscious on the field like that.
The independent neurological consultants weren't in action yet.
Yeah, it was actually one of the guys. It's one of the guys on the sideline going, "Get up! I just got food. I just got the barbecue hot dog.
I've got a whole plate of chicken fingers here, man.
Do you not see the brisket dog right here? Get up! Get up!
My neural pathways are telling me that I should eat this brisket dog.
Can somebody go out there and slap him? Do we have cold water to
Pour
pour
some
in his
water
face?
on him. Hey, give him the kick. You guys see Inception? That's not out yet? What a weird time.
Come on, people.
Smelling salts. Something.
Here. Hold this wiener. I'll be back.
Whoa!
Gotta go wake this guy up from a concussion. Football.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Jeff Briggs with Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the Victory Effect, our pledge to drive down vehicle pricing for the city we love. Guess what, KC? It's the Make This the Summer sales event, and large discounts on trucks have returned. Now, until the end of the month, Victory is offering up to $11,000 off.
The Zone is brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. Adam Teicher, Sports or Leisure, still to come. Let's hang out with Kent Swanson here, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, and the KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, what is up, man? How are you, sir?
Jason, it's great to hear from you, buddy. Had to endure Josh Brisco alone the last time.
I'm sorry.
I can be marked safe from that, but I'm excited to be talking to you again.
You know what? I was driving around at the time because, it was doctor's appointments and day before school and doing all that stuff with the kids and trying to get that done. And I listened, and I appreciate your love for Costco. So I was right there with you. I did not have the upbringing of, Costco as a child. We did not do that, but it has been a late love. I have found Costco later in life, but yes, I am right there with you in getting all of the things we need to get done. So I was listening. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, good on you. Good on you. Absolutely.
Jason, I'll just say this. If you guys are ever doing a show remotely from a Costco, I don't care if it's a Thursday at 11. I don't care if it's a Friday at 2, whatever day it is. I will come and do a live segment with both of you in that Costco. So if we can just make this happen, I think we'll all be better for it. We've got a long way to go with Josh. We have to teach him a lot of things about Costco.
I mean, he's still in the newlywed phase. I mean, he doesn't know about the things you can save, how you can. The guy spent 3 weeks in Europe. Okay, I don't think trying to buy in bulk right now is the best way for him to think about saving money. So I mean, he's not at that stage yet, Ken.
Well, it probably needs to start sooner than he realizes.
Agreed.
And I think that's the thing that, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to buy a little bit in bulk, but you're going to be blessed. And
Yeah.
you're going to be blessed with high-quality products that you sometimes can't find anywhere else in the metro. I'm just saying.
And you know what? I mean, it's like saving for retirement. You start earlier than you think you should, and you're better for it in the long run.
The joy of Costco compounds like interest.
And Costco matches everything that you buy there, which is great. I mean, it's very nice of them to do that. It's up to 5%.
They know what they're doing over there.
Yes. Visiting with Kent Swanson. All right, so DEF CON level with Chris Jones. Where are you at right now? And are you 1? Are you 5? And we'll use the actual levels, 5 being the least severe, DEF CON 1 being the most severe. So what DEF CON level are you at?
Probably a 2, and
Okay.
it's not a 1 because this isn't a Patrick Mahomes negotiation, right? So, I'm concerned about, Chris Jones' ability to get a long-term deal with the Chiefs. I'm worried about definitely the first 8 weeks of the season for this team. I'm worried about the long-term or the outlook for this entirety of this season. But I do feel like, we're going to see this kind of situation pop up several times in the future for this team with these kinds of players. We've seen it with Tyreek Hill. We've seen it with Orlando Brown and Tyrann Mathieu. And I think Chris Jones, there is a chance that Chris Jones is falling in line with that group of players where, the Chiefs are going to, have due diligence in their negotiations. They're going to do what they can. They're not going to offer top dollar, and it's going to be up to the player to make that decision. As far as a long-term deal is going, I'm quite concerned it's going to happen. But I don't know if I'm necessarily surprised, and I feel like a little bit emotionally prepared for this because I feel like we've seen this team approach this similarly in the past.
Those players you mentioned didn't stay on the Chiefs after those issues arose.
Yep.
And is this one to where, not even saying after this year, issues this year. He said week 8. I'm not sure how much I believe him in week 8. I think he just threw out a number. Week 8, that's what I'm going to – when are you going to be there? Week 8. That's what, none of your business – week 8 to me is like none of your business, which is being taken as some viewing it as, okay, literal, which I do think we can talk about the implications as to how smart it would be or not smart it would be for Chris Jones to sit out those games. But when we talk about those players, Tyreek Hill wasn't with the Chiefs anymore. Tyrann Mathieu had the issues throughout the season and then wasn't with the Chiefs anymore. Orlando Brown wanted more than the Chiefs thought he was worth, and then they walked on Orlando Brown. Like we've seen this a number of times, is that is that the end game here, or if we game this out, is that what we're talking about? That even if they go through this year, that Chris Jones has this final year with the Chiefs, and then he's somewhere else next year.
I think this is. I think it's increasingly likely that this is a last hurrah for Chris Jones in a Chiefs uniform. So I am starting to think that he is going to go by the way of those players that we just mentioned, where they play out their final year, or they're likely done after the negotiations are once those contracts are expired, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that we are trending in the direction of Chris Jones playing one more year in Kansas City, balling out, and then getting traded to the Bears or something next year. Like, that kind of feels like where we're heading for this. It just seems like these two teams, or two sides, are far apart. And this is not week one's not a deadline. Like, I know Brett Veach said, hey, week one's another deadline.
Mm-hmm.
No, training camp was the deadline. Andy Reid doesn't want players missing training camp. Training camp was effectively that deadline, and they blew right past it. And it doesn't sound like they were even talking during training camp,
right.
Almost.
Still not talking,
so,
and Andy Reid said there's no communication.
That doesn't sound like something that's getting resolved in a timely manner. That doesn't sound like something that's getting resolved with the Chiefs and Chris Jones people coming to terms on a deal. I don't feel like Chris, just with Andy's history, that doesn't seem like a guy they typically pay when it gets that contentious.
I mean, that has not been the history for them. And I think also, it's been brought up a couple of times that, the Chiefs are negotiating from a standpoint of bigger picture, not just with salary cap and years, but bigger picture in what negotiations would be like with other players, and say, okay, if the Chiefs just give in on this one, well, then other players look at it and go, well, all right, they gave in there. All you got to do is hold out and you're going to get your money. But I don't buy into that, because there aren't any other Chris Jones on this team right now. And how many times are they going to be in a situation with a guy that means as much as Chris Jones? They've already proven that if you hold out, or you're an issue, they'll move on from you. And Chris Jones may be different, to where he's viewed as so important to the team that they may have to just give in if it gets to that. But if they do that, Kent, I don't think that's precedent setting where the Chiefs have to worry about, oh no, Snead is going to do that, or Nick Bolton's going to do that, or Creed Humphrey, or Trey Smith, or just name anybody else, that's a part of this team that they would have to worry about.
Well, and they just gave the most money in the history of the right tackle position, I believe, as well. So, we are not too far removed from this team shelling out a big contract. I just think the Chiefs operate on their own terms, and they are operating on their own terms because they have the best player in the world. And so I don't know if they're playing a hard ball. I don't think the Chiefs are unreasonable negotiators, but I do think that they are drawing lines with the context of having, to pay the best player in the world and make sure to maintain, that contract. And, they've found a good thing right now. Like, they've been able to turn over their roster, turn over elite players, trade for draft capital, build a roster. They just won a Super Bowl in a rebuilding year. And maybe it's a little bit of feeling themselves. I don't know. Maybe it'll come back down to earth a little bit. But how this team is operating with in negotiations kind of on their own terms, not, going too crazy, with some of their negotiations by all indications. And, continuing to spread that cap and spread the capital across the roster has worked well for them so far. So, I feel like the Chiefs are operating in a position of strength, and they probably aren't super willing to go, to great lengths to, accommodate Chris Jones' deal.
Is a trade more of a possibility in your mind now?
I think so. I still don't think it's very likely. I don't think Chris Jones has any leverage trying to hold out to week 8. Like, the leverage he has doesn't make sense, and it definitely doesn't. It doesn't make sense from a negotiation standpoint to try to get more money from the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to panic over an 8-game sample size, and I think he's just going to wind up. I think Chris Jones is going to lose money that he's probably not going to get back with his next deal. Like, let's just be candid. But I think, I think it's more likely that there's a trade, but I still wouldn't bet on it, just because I don't know if that makes sense for anybody at this point. And it would be frustrating to see the saga end with the Chiefs making a trade where they've had, they could have, maybe done it 5 months prior. If things had got to that point, I don't know. It would be frustrating if the Chiefs planned to have Chris Jones here all off season and then didn't, and had to trade him for future capital and just kind of leave this team hanging.
Ken Swanson's our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Has he passed the point of playing the same number of snaps versus Detroit that he would had he been at training camp all along? Is he past sort of that line to where, okay, he's not going to play the same amount of snaps now, even if he shows up today? Now it's just a matter of the next couple of weeks when he shows up, how limited he may be. In your mind, has he passed that point to where his snaps are going to be limited? Even if it's 2 or 3 fewer, it's still a lesser number of snaps than it would have been if he was there, July 20th, 21st, whatever the day veteran report day was.
Oh yeah, I think we are gonna. I believe Steve Spagnuolo when he says we're gonna see, some limited snaps from Chris Jones. You got to think about, if he reports tomorrow, there's a ramp up period, and so you've got to go through that 5-day acclimation, period, before you can experience full contact. Well, how much full contact are the Chiefs going to be running, when Chris Jones is back? How many days of full contact period is Chris Jones actually going to get before the actual game? The Chiefs have moved on to game planning. They've moved on to getting ready for the Detroit Lions, and it kind of, the team tends to be more, body maintenance than it does physicality. Maybe there's a few periods or a few opportunities for him to, to try to get some live contact, but that ship, by all indications, has sailed, and that's going to really affect football shape, his ability to be in football shape, just stepping onto a field against a bunch of players that have been, kind of in it for the last month and a half of the physicality and the contact. It's definitely going to reduce the snap count. I just don't see any way it doesn't.
Yeah, they have, according to the CBA, after the third preseason game, they are allowed 1 padded practice before the first game of the season. So even if he shows up, on Monday or whenever, that would be the most he would have is 1 padded practice, and that would be if it's outside of his acclimation period of when he can't put on full pads, getting through, those first few days. So odds are he's not going to put pads on and hit anybody until the Detroit game in week 1, if he's there in week 1 at this point. So we'll see. Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Seth Geiser tweeted out the pressures from a year ago that, 185 pressures that the Chiefs were able to come away with throughout the season. 46 of those directly attributed to Chris Jones, which is roughly 25% of all the pressures. And then Frank Clark and Carlos Dunlap was 44, which is roughly 24%. So you're looking at almost 50% of the pressures that the Chiefs were able to generate last year are by 3 guys that right now are not on the team. How much of a concern is that? And how much is there then pressure on Spagnuolo to figure it out without Chris Jones, and then pressure on the offense to say, let's go get 35 every single game. Let's go get 35. Let's go get 38. It's now on us to go and be even more dynamic than we were a year ago.
I mean, there's no replacing Chris Jones, and there's no trying to replace Chris Jones in the aggregate in August, September. Like it's not going to happen. Obviously, with the loss of pressure rates, loss of pressures also comes the loss of snaps. And it's probably not likely that the group that the Chiefs have here is going to be able to generate the same kind of pressure rate that the guys that you just mentioned brought up. So what are you going to have to do? Well, you're going to have to try. You're going to have to see if a George Karlaftis can take a step in, Felix Anudike-Uzomah's value becomes all the more at this point. I mean, he's going to get thrown into the fire, at this rate, if this is what it's going to look like. Steve Spagnuolo is probably going to have to start bringing some pressure. He's going to have to start, trying to crank some things up and, try to force some turnovers, try to put teams behind the sticks. And we've seen Mahomes in this offense step up to the plate and respond when they've needed. Obviously, I don't think anybody wants to, watch the 2018 Chiefs again, where, Patrick Mahomes is setting the world on fire and, the defense is forcing him to. But it could come to that. And I think the Chiefs obviously have the guy to do it if that becomes the case. But the hope is still, enough pressure to, kind of still play complimentary football.
Visiting with Kent Swanson, kcsn.substack.com, KC Laboratory Podcast. All right, let's talk about some other issues with this team or things that have been discussed, especially coming out of that Arizona game. Who's the number 2 quarterback on this team? Who's backing up Patrick Mahomes, you think?
Have you been reading my DMs with Craig and Maddie? No,
yes. I have some spyware on your guys' computer. It's getting a little interesting. Okay, it's a little fishy.
That checks out. That checks out, Anderson. I'm starting to lean Shane Buechele, and I know that Buechele got some opportunities, and they benched Chad Henne, or they sat Chad Henne last year in some of the preseason snaps and whatnot. But I'm having a hard time believing that Buechele got the reps with the ones in week 2 when Blaine Gabbert hasn't had any reps with the ones in a real live game setting in Kansas City. That's the thing that kind of perked my ears and made me pay a little bit more attention. Is you've got crucial snaps with your first team offense, and you're bypassing the guy that is the new backup for your team, the new solidified lockdown number 2 quarterback. You're not giving him those opportunities, even though it's his first opportunity to do that with your first team. That didn't make sense to me. And then Andy's kind of explanation, I was listening to Joshua Brisco on the post-game show on the way home, and him talking, Andy talking about, hey, things kind of didn't go according to plan, and we needed Blaine to step in and take some snaps. That doesn't check out. You don't just throw your number 2 quarterback into the mix last second because you ran out of, or you needed some snaps. You just play your number 3 and 4 quarterback longer. So something just doesn't clear with me. I think it's Shane Buechele, and I think we'll find out for sure on Saturday. How the rotations are split.
Visiting with Kent Swanson, kcsn.substack.com, KC Laboratory Podcast. I've been trying to figure this out with what Andy Reid said in that Blaine Gabbert wasn't going to play. And then yesterday, adding on to what you were talking about and what, Josh was talking about post-game, then yesterday Shane Buechele says, he was actually surprised when he came out to the second half and Blaine Gabbert was playing and not him. That was – what do you make of that whole situation? The plan was for Blaine Gabbert to not play, and Shane Buechele thought he was going to take the reps in the start of the third quarter, and instead it was Blaine Gabbert. Is that the Chiefs sort of saw what they wanted to see from Shane Buechele, and all of a sudden it was let's call an audible here. Let's see what Blaine Gabbert's looking like against this Arizona defense so we have apples to apples? Or did Blaine Gabbert go and say, no, I'm not sitting, coach, I'm playing because I'm not losing my job to Shane Buechele, and after those couple of drives, I need to go out there and show what I can do?
It could be anything, right? Like, it's hard for me to speculate. I wouldn't be stunned. Like, the only thing that, like, in the back of my head is, it's good to surprise a backup quarterback.
That's an interesting point.
In a game setting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it can be a beneficial thing for maybe Blaine Gabbert lets his guard up a little bit, or guard down a little bit, and he's not necessarily anticipating it, and the Chiefs want to try to throw him into the fire, because that's really what's going to be happening ultimately when a game setting happens. Is you're prepared, you're planning, like you're going to play, but you're not anticipating it necessarily either. You're wanting your one to go, and so it could be some kind of tactic like that where they want to try to just mix things up and make those guys feel uncomfortable, so when they have to step in, they're ready to go. But that's like the only logical explanation I can think of that really holds water for me on why they approach things the way they approach with the quarterback rotation.
Yeah, I'm just, it's an interesting point, and I do wonder if that's part of it. We haven't seen Andy do that before, but you know what? Why not? Just to see, what they can do if they're surprised to go in the game. And Blaine Gabbert, a veteran guy. I also think, like, when we're looking at the bigger picture of backup quarterback, whoever it is, somebody with maybe a higher upside that might be unproven. Like, I think we're to the point to where Patrick Mahomes doesn't need a veteran around him in film study and everything, that he doesn't have to have the Chad Henne or Alex Smith or Blaine Gabbert, a veteran presence to sort of hold his hand and to help him out. He may want that, like, he talked about Blaine Gabbert and wanting him because of being able to pick his brain with Tom Brady, but I think we're past the point of saying, well, there's that veteran guy around Patrick Mahomes too. He's the veteran now.
Well, and I'll add one more thought to all of this when it comes to Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert not being the number 2 quarterback and not being on the 53-man roster doesn't mean that they can't have Blaine Gabbert around either. And one thing I'm looking at with some of the roster construction questions that they're going to have, because this is a deep, interesting group of players, is maybe they feel like, Blaine Gabbert signed for vet minimum.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, I don't know how. I was a little surprised he signed for vet minimum, and I was a little surprised his services weren't needed or wanted more than they appeared to be. If that's the case, and if that holds true, then maybe Blaine Gabbert's a guy that they feel like they can get on the practice squad. If he's only making a veteran minimum contract, that means there wasn't like a ton of interest necessarily, and he wasn't getting paid any more than a veteran minimum deal. Then maybe they feel like they can, release him. He's not going to go sign somewhere else. He's going to come hang out on the practice squad, be number 3 quarterback, be in the room, and they're going to do what they can to protect Shane Buechele, who's got cost control for the next few years, and someone that they've clearly wanted to groom as the backup or wanted to keep around the last 2 seasons because they've gone out of their way to make sure that they've kept him. So, that's the only other line of thinking I could think is maybe this is a roster construction approach that they're thinking about trying to take and putting Blaine Gabbert at QB3.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And, I don't know, is he a guy that, they can release and then bring back if he agrees to that or whatever? How they'll sort of approach that whole thing. Kent Swanson is our guest. How much has your confidence grown in the offensive line? They played just a couple of series in the preseason game number 1. And then they play the first half, so that's 6 series in preseason game number 2. So we're looking at 8, 9 series that they have played through the first couple of preseason games. So it's not a whole lot. It's almost a game's worth, really, if we look at 9, 10 possessions in a game. But how much has your confidence grown in what we've seen in live action from this offensive line, and maybe especially highlighting the tackles?
Oh yeah, I think the offensive line's been great. In the small sample size we've seen. Now, to be fair, it's not like they're going up against elite pass rushers with the Saints and the Cardinals, especially the Cardinals. But they've done everything you want them to do at this point. They've played consistently, in pass protection. Mahomes complaining about not getting hit, just such a great line. I thought the run game's been pretty good too. I think they've done a good job in the run game as well. I think there is hope for me that they might be able to get away with, some of their 5-man protections. They're not going to try to have to help, a Donovan Smith or, maybe the same way that they helped Orlando Brown. But at the same time, if Donovan Smith's the weak link on this offensive line, what he's shown so far, that's reason for optimism because that is a higher bar to clear than we've seen probably in any Patrick Mahomes offense to this point.
Yeah, no, and it's a great point about, if you don't have to keep the running back or the tight end in, now you get those guys out and pass, patterns quicker. Now you become more dynamic. You put even more pressure and stress on that defense. So that could go a long way for this offense. Last one for you, not talking about the defensive line. Outside of that, is there something that you're most concerned with? Maybe not specifically it's a concern or this is a fatal flaw, but ranking concern levels, is there an area that would be most concerning outside of the defensive line that maybe you want to see either Saturday or as the season starts?
Feels like the running back room is a little fragile on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm just, Pacheco coming out of injury, Jerick McKinnon's injury history. Clyde Edwards-Helaire's injury history. So there could be a little fragility at running back. And then, I hope the confidence in the second-year defensive backs has grown because it does seem like Steve Spagnuolo was either trying to send a message to that group or he just flat out wasn't happy with some of the players that were playing in big roles for this team last year. I just want to see continued growth from that group. And, if not, there could be some cause for concern if they're not able to get more exotic, especially considering they may not have an elite pass rush to help them, just let them play base coverage. So those are the two things I'm paying attention to most.
Kent Swanson, kcsn.substack.com, KC Sports Network, and, of course, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, great stuff as always. Enjoy the game on Saturday, and I believe our next conversation will be when this NFL season is starting. So looking forward to that, to see what is going to take place over the next few weeks. Appreciate it, Kent.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, there is Kent Swanson joining us as we continue on this Thursday edition of the show. We'll talk some more Chiefs coming up at noon with Adam Teicher, and we will play some sports or leisure coming up at 1 o'clock before we wrap up the show today. We continue with more Zone right after this at Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, and Dylan Michaels. Thank you to Ken Swanson joining us to talk some Chiefs football, some Chris Jones, etc., etc. The backup quarterback battle, Shane Bichelle and Blaine Gabbert. And then also, confidence in the offensive line and what he's most concerned with, not named the defensive line, and that would be a little concern about the fragility of the running back room right now with Pacheco. We'll see how much he plays, if he plays this weekend, and then Eric Prince looking more and more like a practice squad player along with P. Ryan and then, Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, guys who have had some injury problems, things like that. So if they go with those three running backs, you would have some guys that have faced some injuries in their career. So, yeah, I could see that, and then also the secondary. So those are the kind of the things we've talked about as well, but wanted to pick his brain on that. We will talk with Adam Teicher coming up at noon. We will get his thoughts on a number of things that are going on with the Chiefs. I do want to correct something that I brought up with Ken Swanson there. In going back and checking out the CBA and rereading that when it comes to training camp, so you've got the 5-day acclimation period for players that show up for veteran reporting dates, that you can't wear pads or anything or full speed until those 5 days are up. If you are a veteran that shows up after the 5-day acclimation period is done, you don't have to have an acclimation period.
Interesting. If you show up on day 6, you're good to go full speed. Okay.
If you show up on day 3, you've got 3, 4, 5. You've got 3 days that you have to have that acclimation period. You are not required. You can immediately start to go full speed, whether that's pads or not. So when I talked with him, and I'm like, well, if they've got one padded practice left, and let's say he shows up and in the middle of his 5-day acclimation period, they have a padded practice, he would have no pads put on until the Lions game. But a veteran doesn't have to go through the 5-day acclimation period if the team's 5 days has already expired, which obviously it has for the Chiefs. So he would have a ramp-up time, but it wouldn't be required by the CBA that the Chiefs couldn't do anything with them full speed for 5 days. They could do it day 2 if they wanted to.
Right.
Day 1.
It wouldn't be legislated that way.
Yes.
But the larger point being one padded practice for Chris Jones before the Lions. Before Penei Sewell.
At most right now. At most. Because they'll have one left after this game. So they have one left, really. The Chiefs will put on the pads and tackle and do those things, or whatever you want to call it, thud. But put on the pads and go up against an opponent 2 more times, Saturday, and then whatever practice that Andy Reid chooses to do that. They don't have to have the extra padded practice. They can choose not to, and that's sort of something that Andy Reid, maybe the training camp is so difficult in St. Joe that when you get back to Kansas City, now it's, all right, let's get ready for the games. This is how we'll go through practice. We don't need that extra padded practice that's there, whatever it is. But, yeah, that would be the most the Chiefs have left is just those 2 opportunities. Chris Jones would have 1. Sort of depends on when it is, though, and we'll see when he reports.
This is another part of this, and we've spent so much time circling this particular drain, so much more longer than any of us thought we would be. This is like a sliding scale little detail of it all, but it's not that either of us think Chris Jones couldn't, for the first, I really do believe if Chris Jones put on a helmet and shoulder pads for the first time since the Super Bowl, if he did it for the first time in the locker room before the banners are hanged in Arrowhead and before he takes the field against the Lions, I still think he'd have a pretty good game against the Lions. He still might be the best defensive player on the team. He would still probably be the best defensive lineman on the team, even if that's his first time putting the helmet back on in a any sort of live situation. But it is so far from ideal. That is one of the things that does sort of stick with me now, is that there are ways that the Chiefs could overcome not having, and that Chris Jones could overcome not being there throughout all of camp. The Chiefs could overcome not having him, not being a part of that unit, not having that continuity that Spags talked about really valuing. There are perfectly reasonable paths in this multiverse where Chris Jones comes back, plays well against the Lions, has another defensive player of the year type campaign, and everyone's happy. If it's on a new deal or if it's on the same year, whatever, that's all totally plausible. But it doesn't feel very good to have it be something that has to be overcome, and to be something that you are asking these questions about. Also for a guy who, and again, injuries aren't a character trait, and I don't like it when that ends up becoming a part of it. But Chris Jones has had nagging injuries that have affected him throughout the majority of seasons in his career. Last year was maybe his healthiest year, and therefore his most dynamic, his most overwhelming. But missing all of training camp and missing preseason action, and again, he's in good shape. We know that from people like Joe Colin, who would have no reason to lie about it. No football activities until week 1 doesn't feel to me like the best path to having your body ready for the ins and outs and day-to-day of football. I don't want Chris Jones to come back and be there against the Lions, and then all of a sudden he walks off kind of hobbling because his hamstring is tweaked. Even if it's a minor thing, that stuff like that can nag.
And I do wonder, like, the sliding scale. So if it's right now, if he were to show up right now and then he's practicing on Monday or whatever, like, what are the number of reps that he would, and maybe it's something we can never quantify, but what are the number of reps he has lost in the game against the Lions that, okay, he would have played 58 snaps, but he only played 42 because he just showed up to camp on Monday. And that sliding scale, obviously, as it gets closer and closer to the Lions, those number of reps diminish. Because when Steve Spagnuolo says, yeah, I mean, you're at a point to where, you've got to worry about the reps that he gets and things like that. So we're past the point, according to Steve Spagnuolo, of Chris Jones, even if he were to report right now, playing a regular workload against the Lions. So, I mean, as you get closer and closer to the game, are we talking about half of his reps, a quarter of his reps? Aaron Donald, when he held out the first time, showed up literally the day before the first game and missed that game because he wasn't going to play. I mean, he was not, nearly in good enough shape to play. Mm-hmm. The second holdout that Aaron Donald had, he showed up 10 days before week 1, and he played in those 10 days. The Chiefs are 14 days away from their first game. So as it gets closer, even Aaron Donald in his holdout wasn't good enough to play week 1 when it was that close to the season. So the sliding scale says, week 1's already impacted. The question is just how much it's impacted with Chris Jones.
And we might be able to judge that a little bit. I have last year's snap counts up here from Chris Jones. And against the Cardinals in week 1, he played 42 snaps. That's 64% of them. That was a blowout win.
Yeah.
The only other game...
Love to know what the snap count was in the fourth quarter for him.
Yes, I think it was very, very low because that's the lowest of the season, with the exception of the Texans game. Was he a little banged up then? I can't remember the path on that. Because that game ended up being close, but he played right around there.
And he made a play late in the game that resulted in eventually the fumble for Davis Mills.
So but most of the season, there are a couple of 60-somethings, and then the end of the year too. But week 2 against the Chargers was about 75%. Week 3, 80%. And then the Tampa, Vegas, Buffalo trio of weeks in 4, 5, 6, 90%, 90%, 96%. Played 70 snaps against the Bills because there were a lot of defensive snaps to take, and he was out there for almost all of them. We'll see. I mean, his season-long snap percentage for the defense last year was in a different tab, so I thought it would just pop right up. Here we go. About 80%. 79.79% of the defensive snaps last year Chris Jones took. Around that 65 to 90% range is a reasonable range. If he's here in week 1, which we still don't know, wouldn't surprise me at all if he plays 30% of the snaps. And we would have enough evidence to say that is because he wasn't around earlier.
So there's some news in the NFL on the trade front, and no, it is not Jonathan Taylor.
No,
it is not him. But it involves a local kid in Isaiah Simmons, who was top 10 pick by the Arizona Cardinals. Olathe North, Clemson Tiger. He has been traded to the New York Giants for a 7th rounder. Reportedly a 7th rounder. The Giants have acquired Isaiah Simmons, and the Cardinals have essentially ejected.
Yep.
On Isaiah Simmons.
Last year of his rookie deal.
Number 8. He was a top 10 pick. I think it was number 8.
Right.
8 seems pretty, I want to say 9, but that's his jersey number. But I think he was drafted 8th overall. So the number 8 pick in the draft.
8 overall.
In 2020, 3 years later, is traded for a 7th rounder. I mean, that's a huge miss. That's a bust. And he was a guy that was the jack of all trades. The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. How will a defensive coordinator use him? Is he going to be an on-ball sort of linebacker? Is he going to be a safety? Is he going to be like the joker position, the robber, whatever you want to call it? And this year, they just simply moved him to safety. And clearly that wasn't good enough for him because they have not traded him. So what are the Giants going to do? How are they going to use Isaiah Simmons? And maybe there's just a change of scenery that needs to be done. And congratulations to Isaiah Simmons, because he's not going to be toiling away with the awful Cardinals this year who are tanking. And he can be with the Giants team that at least feels like they're going to compete in the NFC East. And a new-ish regime and a fresh start and a team that acquired you, so thinking they can use you in a certain way.
Hey, if Wink Martindale can't find a spot for you on an NFL defense,
great point.
Maybe nobody can.
And he probably looks at him and says, I want to blitz with that guy.
Right. Well, that's the thing that is so interesting.
What about that guy in row B, section 38? I want to blitz that guy too.
Can we bring him down? It will be cover nothing. Not even cover zero. It's called cover nothing.
I don't know the word. Shut up and go blitz. You. No, you. Coach, I actually want you to go in and blitz.
Hey, ball boy, can you put on his helmet? Just run forward. Don't worry about lateral. But like Isaiah Simmons is a fascinating example of he was one of the biggest Rorschach tests in NFL draft history, right?
Way to put it,
I mean, and really that happens all the time with everybody. It's always beauty in the eye of the beholder. But I looked at Isaiah Simmons, much like we're going back to a very similar archetype here, like I looked at Dorian O'Daniel, another guy who in sort of a different kind of tweener role, never quite made it work. I love tweener players, and it makes me mad when they don't work out, because I look at them and think, well, if you're a competent defensive coordinator and I give you a guy who's 6'4", 240 who can fly, can you not find a role for him in your defense? And I'm kind of, tapping my chest, putting my hand up here and saying, well, no, there's a reason that a lot of these archetypes exist. I mean, forcing defenses into bad matchups, you want to have guys that can give you matchup advantages. So I still like a gamble on a jack-of-all-trades kind of positionless guy who might be able to do a lot of stuff. But it doesn't work with L'Jarius Sneed if L'Jarius Sneed can't play corner. His blitzing ability is incredible as an addition when you must be this tall to ride as it is. Shamari Connor's kind of trending in that direction like we've talked about some. You've got to be able to cover to be the Swiss Army knife. It makes me kind of bummed to see Isaiah Simmons traded for as little as possible after training camp, right before cutdowns. I mean, I imagine that means not only were the Cardinals, of course, not interested in anything beyond his rookie contract, but he probably just wasn't going to make those cutdowns, and they said, we'll take our 7th-round pick. If the Chiefs would have made this move, I would have been, tickled. It wouldn't have made sense in their linebacker room, and I don't know what room you put Isaiah Simmons in, but that is one of those former first-round pick gambles that Brett Veach takes all the time. Right. And not even gambles, because what are you gambling? It's a lottery ticket. Well, it's $1.
It's a 7th-round pick that the Giants are giving up for a $1 million cap hit.
Yeah.
For 1 year left on Isaiah Simmons. You would also have the right for a franchise tag if need be. Like if he is just amazing and the $1 million cap hit, you're like, all right, well, we want to sign him to a long-term deal. Maybe you don't franchise him. I guess you may not go to we'll see what he is to then we're going to put a tag on him of like $23 million. Like, I don't know that would be the case, but
if he's just good, it's like, hey, man, we'll give you, how about two for 12? Yeah. Because you almost got cut by the Cardinals a year ago. Yeah. Here's 2 for 12.
Exactly. There's no 5th-year option. That was not picked up, which was not a surprise at the time. But, a base salary of $1 million and being traded, and that's, what the Giants are going to, carry, what they're going to take on, and giving up a 7th-rounder for a guy who had all the makings of, this Swiss Army knife, and this guy that was just going to be a football player. And positionless basketball we talk about, and more positionless defense. Guys who are just difference makers. You put them out there, and how can you constrain space on the field by utilizing guys in different ways? And that was what people thought Isaiah Simmons was going to be used as. Yep. And, if that was a mistake or not, I don't know. I'll tell you this. The Arizona Cardinals have a history of making a mistake with a first-round draft pick and then letting him go, and he became a really good player, and that is Hassan Reddick, who they tried to turn into an actual linebacker, and it was a failure, and it was, this guy's a bust. Then, this is crazy, they put him on the line, and he started sacking the quarterback. And then they walked on him, and I wanted him really badly. And the Panthers signed him. And guess what he was doing in Carolina? Sacking the freaking quarterback. And then you've got the Eagles. He went there and sacked the quarterback. Now it's a 3-4 outside linebacker as opposed to a 4-3 defensive end. I get that with Spags and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, you take a chance on that.
It's also just kind of wild that this is now, Jonathan Gannon's there in Arizona now. So a new administration came in and they're evaluating everything, much like the Giants were doing last year, right? Where you come in and you try to figure out what you've got. And Jonathan Gannon did not say, all right, I'm going to use you a little bit differently and we're going to get real value out of you. It was just, ooh, this isn't going to be it. So you go, okay, so a team that is desperate for talent, guys who can fill some of these roster spots, they're out on you. What happened here to make this trade even make sense? And I just have been thinking since I saw the news this morning about how Brett Veach has talked about, when you have guys like that, you revert to your college scouting.
Yeah.
Not without any other context, of course. You go, oh, Isaiah Simmons, we have a first-round grade on him. Let's give a third-round pick. But you go back to what you believed in college, and then that can help you get some of the other circumstantial stuff out of the way, which is rapidly becoming one of my favorite little parts of team development that is harder to quantify but fun to talk about. If you are a guy in a bad position, if you're defensive coordinator, I'm sure there are good Chiefs examples from the Bob Sutton to Steve Spagnuolo turnover for sure. But anywhere in sports, you see all the time guys leave one situation to another and they suddenly shine. They might not have taken a huge leap as a player. They might have fallen in a situation where the coaches knew how to use him then. So I like that from a Giants perspective here. I can't imagine being a Cardinals fan with an Isaiah Simmons jersey that you bought after the 2020 draft and thinking, all right, we've got a defensive ace here. Oh, man, you have Isaiah Simmons and Budda Baker. I bet he's going to want to be here forever. Uh-oh. And then, you figure it out from there. But, man, the Cardinals are in a rough spot.
So I wonder if Jonathan Gannon got with Vic Fangio and if he could let Isaiah Simmons go or not, because obviously that was the Super Bowl method. So maybe he was told by Vic Fangio that he could let Isaiah Simmons go from Arizona.
It's interesting.
It's fun. I like the little pre-cut down day trades.
So part of the negotiation would be if they gave up a 7th rounder, would then the Cardinals want them to take on more money? Or if they gave up a 6th or a 5th rounder, would it be, he's got $1 million on his base salary. So trade post June 1 would give, looking at the prorated and the bonus, it would be roughly $3.5 million that the Cardinals would have to take as dead money no matter what. But in theory...
3.1 is that prorated bonus.
Yeah.
They got to eat that.
So in theory...
Roster bonus would also move with him, right?
Yeah. Well, it would just be the base salary. In theory, the base salary would be the only thing that would move with him, right? Because
would the
roster bonus and signing bonus would be the money that would have to stay with... Well, the prorated signing bonus, you're right. Roster bonus would then move with them.
They're definitely eating $3 million in the prorated bonus. He has a $2.4 million. And also to be clear, this point would rule the Chiefs out. They don't have the money for this right now, so I don't know if they're interested or not. Roster wise, I don't know if it would have made a ton of sense. But the post June 1st trade,
the 2.4 can stay on the Cardinals' books, so you can negotiate that. So the 2.4 can follow Simmons and his $1 million base salary to make it a $3.4 million cap hit for the Giants. But you can negotiate that to keep it on the Cardinals' books and take a $1 million cap hit for the Giants, anywhere from 1 to 3.4. Does that escalate it to where, hey, you keep the 3.4, or we'll take on the $2.4 million and we'll give you a 7th, or you keep the 2.4 and we'll give you a 5th.
Yeah, if you're the Giants, if you're the Cardinals, pay everybody's salaries this year if you can.
Yeah,
who cares, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I have no idea what that would be, but at minimum, it's a $1 million salary cap hit for the Giants. But then that roster bonus, like you're talking about, I thought the roster was signing and prorated and things like that, but the roster bonus would follow him.
And I don't know when the roster bonus gets paid out.
But it would still follow him.
If
the roster bonus is this year, it would follow him.
Right.
To wherever he goes.
It has to be a 53-man roster thing, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the details of all that are, because there are also those bonuses that come in the first days of the league year.
He got it on August 1st.
So he has gotten paid for the roster bonus
He got the
already.
roster bonus on August 1st. So that's going to follow him.
Well, but if it's
this year.
Well, but it wouldn't follow him if it's paid out, right?
Well, it's paid out, but part of the cap.
The Cardinals have paid out that cash,
but the cap hit can follow him to the Giants.
Would it follow him to the Giants in this situation, though?
I'm pretty positive it would.
Okay, if you seem
Brad
like
Spielberger
I
right
will try
now.
to figure it out. I just didn't. I don't even know. That's a new one for me.
But at minimum,
do you know Rashad Fenton's on the Cardinals IR right now?
I did not.
I
know
just
that
learned
now.
that.
I know that. But one last point, and we'll take a break. The Cardinals have at least saved $3 and change.
Yes.
In their salary cap.
Yes.
So they're already saving that. So I mean, I don't know. Still, if you were talking about anywhere from $1 to $3.5 million to add Isaiah Simmons for a 7th rounder, I mean, it is a lottery ticket, like you're throwing a dart. It's kind of a Brett Veachey thing, like a Kadarius Toney giving up a 3rd rounder for a former 1st rounder.
Makes a ton of sense to the Giants, to me.
Yeah. And I'm not familiar with all the Giants' needs in their secondary and everything, where I am with the Chiefs. And if they feel like Shamari Connor can fill in for Snead and things like that, and they like Brian Cook, if there were more injuries on the Chiefs or something like that, knock on wood, then maybe they would have been interested in and maybe it might have been a 6th rounder to say we can only take on $1 million. We'll move some things around with Kelsey or whatever. We can only take on $1 million, and we'll give you a 6th rounder, whatever it might be. I don't know. We'll take a time out.
That Chris Jones money to work with.
Why do they need that? It's not that. Get the bag. They're fine.
They'll figure it out.
The players are like, oh, it's all good.
A lot of time left.
Week 8.
Yeah, week 8. They'll get it figured out by week 8.
Nothing wrong with giving up $19 million if you sit out till week 8.
Ugh.
Who would want to? Who cares about $20 million? He can afford it. Actually, he said
He
that.
sure can.
We'll take a time out. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
to talk with Adam Teicher coming up at noon. Our Chiefs insider from ESPN. Also, the Chiefs luncheon going on. Could use some lunch myself. Could use a little fuel myself, and we can all use a little change. So we'll talk with Adam Teicher and Mark Donovan. We'll be, we believe, talking with the media at some point, and that being our Todd Lebo, who will only pummel him with questions about Chris Jones.
He's going to get his game on. He's going to go play. You're an all-star, Jason. I got your music references. I can do that all day. If Jerry Maguire was a song, I would have heard it by now.
Sometimes not all that glitters is gold.
Now more than ever, if you own or operate a medical facility, you need Walker Medical Linen Service. They provide everything.
Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Chiefs with a luncheon, but also Jillian Carroll Latrinko tweets out the anchor, or not an anchor, but the What are those big, tall things that hang buildings and stuff? You know, those big old arms that come out?
A crane?
Yeah, crane. A crane, not an anchor. A damn crane. I'll get there eventually. A crane setting the second flagpole at Arrowhead Stadium right now for the championship flag that will be raised 2 weeks from today. So just thought I'd throw that out there, which was a mistake because I couldn't think of crane. So, which, you know, vocabulary can sometimes be an anchor for someone who talks for a living. Adam Teicher joins us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. No issues with vocabulary. He walks around with a thesaurus in his back pocket. Adam, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Good, Jason. How you doing today?
I am doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. I don't know. There's a lot of different things along the way that make it real, right? That the championship and this team has a couple of rings, and you know, Patrick Mahomes with the that's who with the 2 rings there and stuff like that. But you know, this will be, you know, in 2 weeks, it'll be one of those moments that they had the special flag raising for like some season ticket holders and ring ceremony when they did that during COVID. And then that first game, there were minimal fans there. This will be that real first time full on celebration where the flagpole is now being hung by what is called a crane, I'm being told. And then that flag's going to be raised, and it'll be that real actual Super Bowl champion, defending champion experience.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't feel right. You know, I was there in 2020 when they did it the last time. It just didn't feel right. You know, I mean, they were doing what they could, but there was only about 15,000 people there, and it just really felt like it was missing something. You know, this one will, I think, feel more authentic and be more real. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one.
Will it be missing Chris Jones, Adam? That's what I asked you.
Much like Patrick Mahomes, I'm surprised you on August 24th are asking me that question. But yeah. I think that everything is starting to point in that direction. Yes.
Interesting. What'd you take away with Andy Reid saying, you know, there's been no communication, that, you know, that they need to talk and there's no communication, they're going to have to do those things. But the fact that, you know, it is August 24th, the fact that there are no more practices before the third preseason game is done, and then sort of that bye week and all of that stuff until the first game of the season, and Chris Jones still hasn't reported. What'd you make of the no communication going on between the two sides?
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs really have, after today, they really have nothing in the way of practice except for the 3 game plan practices that they run always every week of every game that they'll do next week before the Detroit game. So, it is a crazy thing. And, you know, we heard Steve Spagnuolo earlier in the week. You know, he just sort of seemed resigned to the fact that Chris Jones is not going to be there when they play the Lions, you know, and he was talking about maybe it's going to take them a few weeks to figure out, well, here's what we can do well, and here's what we can't do well, and here's what works, and here's what doesn't work, and here's how we're going to attack people. So it just sounds like to me like they're sort of preparing for this to begin, at least without Chris Jones.
Yeah, and you know, we talked in the previous segment just about maybe there being this sliding scale on Chris Jones and playing time and reps in, you know, 2 weeks from today against the Lions, in that, you know, it sounded like Spagnuolo when you're saying, you know, as he talked and was, you know, hey, it's, you know, we'll have to figure out a way to do that, to make up for that. We'll have to figure out a way to, you know, to go win games and play defense, pressure the quarterback, et cetera. But it certainly sounded like he was saying, even at this point, the snap count is going to have to be watched, that this is not going to be a typical game number 1. That sliding scale, Adam, that if he were to show up on Monday, you know, the next time he could report, or pads or whatever, non-pads and just, you know, regular practices, have we passed the point of snap counts would be what they would have been in years past if he'd have just shown up with the veterans, that his playing time on September 7th would be the same? And if we're past that, you know, how diminished do you think that will be against the Lions as the days continue to progress and come and go?
Well, I'm not even sure the Chiefs would play him, even if he shows up today. You know, I don't know that they would. I mean, he just hasn't played football at all. And, you know, how much football can you get in a game plan practice the week of a game? I don't know that you can get a whole lot. So it's an interesting question. I would tend to think the Chiefs would take the long view of it and say, you know what, Chris, you're going to get your paycheck, assuming he shows up. You know what, Chris, you're going to get your paycheck, but we're not going to risk it. We're going to take the long view here, and we think we're going to play, 17 games plus several more after that. So we're going to sit you down for a little while. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. So if you had to ask me right now, even if Chris Jones shows up later today, for instance, I would just say that the chances of him playing any kind of impactful number of snaps is almost zero. But playing at all, maybe that's 50-50 at this point.
Yeah, it's and that's one of those to where you just have to play it by ear and figure it out, and how many snaps, because there's always the concern of him getting injured, and we've discussed those things. I've talked about the precedent of like Aaron Donald, a couple of times this week, that Aaron Donald in his first holdout with his rookie contract showed up the day before the first game of the season, and he sat out that first week. The very next year, because he didn't get a new deal, the very next year he held out and he showed up to camp 10 days before the first game, and he ended up playing the first game. It might have been more limited reps, but he played in that first game. But I don't know that the Rams have the same rule as an Andy Reid of if you're not practicing the week of a game, you're not playing. So, I mean, if he's showing up, and not practicing, then, it's an injury or just simply a hard and fast rule that you practice and then you play. Or it might be a veteran workload, Tamba Hali type deal that you just sort of figure it out. But this might be one to where, I don't know if Andy Reid sort of takes the hardline approach of, you showed up late, you're not playing. Sorry, dude. Yeah, you're here, but we're moving on without you. We've been game planning without you, and we're going to go into this Lions game and continue to play and game plan without you. If you wanted to play against the Lions, you would have been here earlier.
Yeah, and the Chiefs are aware of those stats that I've talked about before, where guys who miss all or most of training camp get hurt at a greater percentage. Yeah, they have a better percentage chance of getting hurt than guys who don't miss any of training camp. So, they're aware of all that, and I can't imagine they would take the short-term view and say, hey, let's get you involved against Detroit and play you 10, 12, 15 snaps, whatever it is, because they're rolling the dice a little bit with the rest of their season here. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's an interesting issue, but I don't think there's enough time at this point for him to get ready to the point where the Chiefs are comfortable putting him out there where it's not a risk to the rest of the season.
Yesterday when he was asked, Andy Reid was asked about the communication. You asked him, then Todd Lebo followed up, and Todd said, asked, is there a point to where you can get involved in this or would get involved in this, being a guy that's been a GM and dealt with these things before? And he paused a little bit and then said, no, not essentially not going to do it. We talked after that press conference, Josh and I did, and it was like the pause I sort of inferred as, yeah, I could, but I'm not going to. Certainly I could, make contact or get involved in this. And pausing, good, but no, I'm not going to. Did that pause mean anything to you of Andy Reid sort of collecting his thoughts before answering?
No, not really.
Okay, cool.
Mean,
great.
I don't think that that's really something he really wants to be doing. So, it was instructive. I mean, if there's been no communication between the sides, that tells you that both sides are entrenched, and either one or the other are going to have to give in. One side or the other is going to have to give in to get this thing resolved to where Chris Jones is playing on a new contract. I mean, he can always come back and play for the contract he's got right now, but I don't know. We'll have to see whether he's interested in doing that.
Does this become an ego thing at this point of maybe to a degree, some of the numbers that obviously they disagree on to a point, immaterial is not the correct word, but certainly less of a hardline stance and more of a who comes out the quote-unquote winner in this between the two sides? Is it does it start to become an ego thing of, no, I've held out this long, I'm going to continue holding out? Well, you know what? You held out that long, we'll dare you to continue to holding out.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. From the Chiefs' standpoint, if they were going to give Chris Jones what he wanted, why wouldn't you have done that a month ago? Why? What do you do? At this point, it's just crazy to change the position and say, okay, Chris, we'll give you what you want. That's just the way bad franchises operate, and the Chiefs used to operate that way back in the day. They felt like they had to win every negotiation, but the Chiefs don't operate that way anymore. So from their standpoint, I don't see it. And Chris Jones seems really convicted. What he's putting out on Twitter lately, I don't necessarily take that to heart, but he's warned us in the past. You remember, don't take what I put on Twitter. Don't take it seriously all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he just seems convicted. I mean, I figure if the guy wasn't, didn't believe in his position, then he would have been here already. I don't really see it that way, no.
He put out the Week 8, which has got a lot of people talking asked, when are you going to return? Week 8. My view on the Week 8 is him saying Week 8 is essentially him saying none of your business. Like, when are you going to return? Week 8. Mind your business. I'll return Week 8. I'll return Week 15. I'll return, whenever I want. Mind your business. Like, if you just change the words, I sort of read it the same way. I didn't read it as, oh my goodness, he's going to sit out Week 8, because Week 8's sort of random. If it's like, well, you got to be back for Week 8 because then it's a full season accrued. Well, that would be more than enough games for a full season accrued. Like, if he was going to sit out the last possible amount of games, I think it'd be like Week 10 or something like that, he would return and be able to get a full season accrued and then be a free agent or whatever.
But when he says about the fines and the missed paychecks, I can afford it. When he says that gets my attention a little bit more, and that clearly was aimed at the Chiefs, I think. So it certainly looks like he's dug in here, and I don't know what the resolutions to this is going to be. I really don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can afford to hold out and miss paychecks, but I'm holding out because I want more money. But I can afford to lose the money. It's just like that is a world that very few people live in. That I can just not show up to work, get fined, not get paid because I want more money, but I can do it because I've got plenty of money already, and it's not something I'm going to miss. Although if he misses 7 games, Joel Corey, former agent, put the numbers together because of the salary cap implications, the salary cap hit, things like that. That if he plays the entire season, a franchise tag next year, not off his base salary, but of all of the prorated and what the cap hit ends up being, Joel Corey saying that the franchise tag for Chris Jones next year would be $33.6 million if he played every single game this year. If he misses 7 games, with the cap number dropping, his base salary dropping, the franchise tag hit would be about $23.25 million. That's almost $10 million difference in franchise tag. But he would also lose about $7.5 million in game checks if he misses the first 7 weeks. And then to go along with the $2.25 million fine if he misses entire training camp, which would be a total of almost $10 million he would lose, along with the franchise tag difference. If he played this year and next year after missing 7 games, played the rest of this year and then was franchise tagged and played next year, he would make $36 million. If he played every single game this year, showed up for week 1 and was franchise tagged next year, that would be $52.6 million. I mean, are the Katz brothers going to advise him to give up almost $20 million by missing 7 weeks?
That's a lot of money, but it certainly appears like Chris Jones, wants what he wants, and is not going to be satisfied unless he gets it. So, it's a crazy situation.
That then becomes less of a smart money decision and more of a, you know what, I'm just going to get my way, and I'm going to show you I mean business. I'll give up $20 million because I wanted $8 million more. It doesn't seem smart.
I'm with you. And I'm wondering whether I think if Chris Jones shows up, let's just say he shows up and plays on his current contract, that he says, okay, you know what, let's just do this. If you're the Chiefs, why would you give him the contract that he wants next year when you wouldn't give it to him this year.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
I think this if he comes in and plays on this year's contract, this is his last year with the Chiefs. I don't see him playing with the Chiefs in 24 or beyond. And I think it'll be like the Orlando Brown situation. The Chiefs, maybe you'll give it a shot at the end of the year and say, Chris, let's try this one last time. But if it doesn't work, they'll say, see ya. We'll be playing against you probably. But
or franchise and trade him. Yeah, franchise, because you would get
that too.
Because of the massive amount of money he would get. I don't know that they would be able to make up if they went and signed some people that it would be anything less than a third rounder. They'd probably be a third rounder himself. So it's like, do we let him walk and just get a third rounder? Yeah. Do we franchise him and take the risk of paying him $34 million against the cap this year if he just says, oh, great, which probably wouldn't be the case? Or do you franchise him and then trade him to a team that might give you, a couple of seconds or a first and a fifth or something like that? I don't know what the going rate would be, but the minimum would be, hey, it's got to be a third rounder because we're probably going to get a comp pick for this. Wouldn't be that draft. Wouldn't be the 2024 draft. It'd be the 2025 draft. But still, that's something they would get back for that. Adam, last one, and then we'll take a break and talk about the actual Chiefs players. How would they overcome Jones if he's missing a number of games? If he was injured, let's just say that if he was actually going to miss a number of weeks because of injury, how do they overcome Jones? And especially add in the fact that Amenahu's not going to be there for it looks like 6 weeks.
I don't think there's a good answer here. And to me, that's the biggof question mark with the Chiefs. I think offensively they're going to be just fine. I think they have a lot going for them. Other parts of their defense, but that pass rush is really something that I don't know where it's going to come from. The Amenahu thing, the Chiefs knew that was coming, so that's not a surprise. But it coupled with the Chris Jones situations, it's some bad news. I mean, it's. The Chiefs are going to have to experiment a lot. I think they're going to be looking at different combinations and seeing what they can do, and it's going to test the limits of Steve Spagnuolo's creativity to get the job done, at least until Amenahu comes back, and maybe beyond that. And that's all, again, assuming they don't have Chris Jones. Yeah. But this is going to look a little different, and if you're betting whether to take the Chiefs, second in the league in sacks again this year, I'd take the under on that one. Just a little friendly advice.
Yeah, I would probably do that as well. Adam Teicher from ESPN giving out friendly betting advice. He's our Chiefs insider. We'll take a break. We'll come back. One more quick segment with Adam as we get ready for the final preseason game for the Chiefs coming up on Saturday. Quick timeout. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
against Andy Reid's way of doing things. You know, he consistently gave all the number 2 snaps to Blaine Gabbert, and you just wonder, would Buechele be even in a better shape if they'd given him more work? You know, he'd be farther along if they had done that. So, yeah, interesting to see how this develops. I still feel like Blaine Gabbert will be their number 2 guy when the season starts, but hey, let's see what happens over the next week or so, because it does appear that there's more to this than just Andy Reid taking a look at a guy.
With the CBA rule of allowing the third quarterback to be activated without going against your active number of players on that game day, does that essentially make it to where the Chiefs are going to keep 3 quarterbacks regardless, because you get the free activated player? Or when you get down to the bottom of the roster with the 53-man roster, you know, Dave Toub and different players he may want or something like that, the added activated player isn't necessarily an end-all be-all of the Chiefs will keep 3.
No, it's not. But hey, I don't want to get on your bad side. I heard you getting sideways with Matt Derrick the other day about this very issue.
Yeah,
so,
no, I'm just genuinely curious. Like, you know, if it does mean that, you know, it could.
I got to tell you, I'm on Matt's side on this one. Okay, I think it's smart to keep 3 guys.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Because when you're playing, when you think you're a Super Bowl contender, you need to have yourself an insurance policy just in case Mahomes gets hurt, even if it's not for a season. If it's for a couple games, let's say, and then all of a sudden in one of those games Blaine Gabbert goes down, then you've still got a third guy ready to go and helping you out. So I think that's a smart move, particularly for a team in the Chiefs position. So I would keep 3. But no, I don't think it does mean that they keep 3. I don't think it means that at all. But at this point, I would be surprised if the Chiefs went with 2. No matter the 2, I still think there will be 3.
No, I would. If I'm saying how many are the Chiefs going to keep, I would say 3. I think they clearly like Buechele a lot, and you know. We'll see what they end up going with. And if they're already going to me, if it was like Shane Buechele or Justin Ross, if it was like, we got to figure out the 7th receiver, do we have a spot for it, or can we sneak somebody through elsewhere? Then I think they might have to make that decision if they really believe in, you know, that 7th receiver. But if they've already accounted for, we're going to have 7 receivers, and this is where we can, you know, move the numbers around to make sure we still have 3 quarterbacks, then yeah, I don't know that there's, you know, necessarily somebody that's like a do or die, like there's zero chance you could ever live without this guy if he's not on the roster.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll come down to Justin Ross versus Buechele. In that case, then I would be tempted to agree with you that they should keep Justin Ross, you know, but it won't come down to that. The Chiefs won't try to good player to keep a third quarterback. You know, if it comes down to Matt Bushman, you know, that might be a guy that Chiefs could put on the practice squad and get him through waivers, and then he's around. And if you need him in a particular week, you can activate him. So, you know, to me, that's a strategy that makes more sense. You know, if the Chiefs were planning on a 5-12 season or something like that, then maybe you keep the third tight end or the extra tight end or whatever. But this team has too much to lose. You don't want to lose a game in the middle of the season because you had to play Jerick McKinnon or Blake Bell or somebody at quarterback.
Although, let's see what happens. Let's get weird. Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN, Chiefs Insider. It's been widely publicized when the Chiefs have drafted wide receivers, whatever it might be, especially last year with Sky Moore, and then are they going to take a first-round wide receiver this year, and then they take Rashee Rice? It's the first year of a wide receiver, a rookie wide receiver in Andy Reid's offense. You just sort of you need to limit what your expectations would be. Does Rashee Rice have a chance to break that, Andy Reid rookie wide receiver history trend this year, that he could be the one that sort of bucks that model that rookie wide receivers just are going to take a longer time to get acclimated to Andy Reid and the numbers are going to be deflated?
Well, it just depends on what your definition of breaking the trend is. I mean, is he going to be more productive than, say, Sky Moore was last year? Yeah, I think so. The Chiefs are already doing a lot of things to get him the ball. In that game alone last week, they threw him a screen pass. They threw him a little pop pass when he was coming across the formation. I mean, they want to get him the ball with the, they want to get the ball to him where he can run in the open field, and we saw a little bit of why they like that against the Cardinals. So I think they're gonna scheme some things for him and use him that way. So to me, 22 catches a game, that's barely more than one a game.
Yeah.
I think Rashee Rice will be better than that. Now, is he going to lead the Chiefs wide receivers in catches or anything like that? I'd be surprised at that. But I think he'll play a bigger role than Sky Moore did last year. Yeah.
Is there anything to make of the, when we look at sort of the differences in preseasons that, Sky Moore has played 5 preseason games for the Chiefs right now, and he has 3 receptions in those 5 preseason games. And Rashee Rice has played 2 preseason games, and he has 13 targets, 11 receptions for 124 yards. Is that an indication of how much they're looking to use him? Is that sort of circumstance? What do you make of just the preseason numbers for 2 different second-round draft picks in back-to-back years?
Well, Rice has played a lot more than Moore has, at least this year, certainly. But a lot of his catches haven't come when Mahomes is in the game. It's been after Mahomes has left the game, and I don't. Are you comparing Sky Moore in the preseason last year to Rice this year?
Yeah, I'm just Sky Moore.
You're not comparing Moore this year to Rice this year.
No, it was. I looked at it last year.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah,
right.
No, you're good. But even with Sky Moore, even all of the preseason games. So Sky Moore has played 5 preseason games now for the Chiefs, and he has a total of 3 receptions in those 5. Yep. And just interesting that. A total of 4. I apologize. 4 receptions for Sky Moore. He had 3 last year in the 3 preseason games, and then the 1 reception on Sunday or a Saturday against the Cardinals on 3rd down, which I think also was kind of interesting that Patrick Mahomes had a couple of guys drop the football, but on third down and we need to have it, I'm going to go to Sky Moore because he ain't dropping it. But just in those 5 preseason games, it's very limited targets for Sky Moore, and in the 2 preseason games for Rice, it almost feels like they were featuring him to a degree.
Yeah, no, I think they were. I mean, that screen pass that they threw to him and that pop pass they threw to him, I mean, those are things that they want to get a look at Rashee Rice. I mean, they want to see what he can do in those kinds of situations. And I mean, I think there is a lot to that. And, one thing that if you didn't go to camp every day, you wouldn't necessarily know this, but Sky Moore was getting the ball a lot at camp. And to me, when Mahomes was quarterback, and to me that maybe is more instructive than what happens in the preseason games. He was getting the ball a lot and playing a lot, so I still expect his numbers to be better than Rashee Rice's. But you can do a lot of things with Rashee Rice, so I like what the Chiefs have in mind, what they're thinking with him, and I think they'll get some good use out of him. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to catch, 75 passes or anything like that. I doubt it, but who knows? I do feel like it'll certainly be higher than what Sky Moore did last year.
All right, we'll let you go with this. The final preseason game. Is there anything you'll be looking at, highlighting as you'll be watching this game at home on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't know what the Chiefs have planned defensively and how much they're going to want to put on tape and all that. But I want to see, even if they don't blitz a whole lot or don't, really make a great effort to get after the quarterback, as long as the ones are in or other guys who are going to make the roster in. I'd like to see them try to win some one-on-one battles, just beat the guy in front of you and do that. I mean, to me, that's going to be a win for the Chiefs. They're going to have to do some of that this year. They're going to have to, rather than scheme up or rely on Chris Jones's double team to free up somebody else, they're going to have to win some of these things. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't feel like they, as a team, need to accomplish much, if anything, when the starters are out there. I think they're in a better place than that, where they don't need to worry about what they do or don't get done in a preseason game team-wise. But I'm just looking for maybe Felix to start to come around a little bit and win some of his battles, those kinds of things.
Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider. Adam, as always, appreciate the time. Love the conversation. Enjoy the game on Saturday, and we will talk next week, getting closer and closer to games that count. Next time we talk, actually, cut down day, so we'll see what happens with that. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it, sir.
All right. Good stuff, man. Talk to you then.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher. Great stuff from him, except for the whole Bichelle, quarterback 3 thing. No, I'm just joking. I think Matt and I were both right, actually. That's just what I think. I think we both won.
Look, man, during the season, he sees Matt Derrick pretty much every day. He talks to you once a week on the phone.
Good point. It's a good point. I am a face in the crowd, and Matt Derrick is there every day with him.
A pair of fists ready at any moment to start throwing hands.
That's Matt Derrick,
That's Matt Derrick for you. I mean, that dude just will throw down at a moment's notice.
Hair trigger.
Hair trigger, Matt Derrick.
I mean, he constantly walks around hands and fists.
By the way, your eye is healed up great from last week.
Thank you.
You can barely even notice anymore.
Thank you.
Might partially be the makeup. I don't know, but it's looked great.
Yeah, no, I got one of those shiners.
Yeah,
I got that.
I can't believe he put on a Chiefs Super Bowl ring before he swung. I don't even know where he got that, but I couldn't have helped.
He stole it from somebody. I'm not sure. He got it off eBay. You got it from Melvin Ingram. It's weird.
Weirdly, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we'll take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll hear from Mark Donovan talking a little bit with Todd Lebo, and then a couple of other things we can get into before Sports or Leisure comes up at 1 o'clock. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by...
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We got some sports or leisure coming your way at 1 o'clock, presented by Johnny's Tavern. Have some fun with sports or leisure. $25 we'll give away to Johnny's Tavern. Mark Donovan with the Chiefs luncheon going on today met with some of the assembled media around the Chiefs luncheon and talked about a number of different things. We'll play this clip here, and this is Mark Donovan starting his sort of press conference media scrum with Lebo. He asked Mark Donovan what he took away from the Royals press conference renderings on Tuesday.
Yeah, they have some exciting options. I think the one thing I would say is they've been great partners. We're very cooperative. We speak a lot. Probably the one thing that wasn't, I don't know if it's fully understood because we're living it too, but it's really complicated. There's a lot to go into those decisions and a lot of information you got to digest and then factor it into your proposals and your performance and everything else. So they're in the middle of that just as we are. And just like us, we got to make sure we get the decision right and do the right thing. So,
have you guys in your studies on what this would be? I mean, obviously, if they leave Jackson County, you're alone in Jackson County. What effect would that be for you guys if you were alone, or is there a preference for you guys to be tied with them in Jackson County or to be alone in Jackson County?
Yeah, I think so. Again, I'll do the exact same thing that Brooks did. I'm not going to speak for the Royals. I think they've got to do that themselves, and we respect that. For us, one of the things that this process has done is, we've always looked at 31 as our lease. So we've been sort of planning on that. Even when we were bidding on World Cup, we looked at, 26, you're doing some modifications in 24, 25, 26, and then we got to be ready for what we're going to do in 31. So for some obvious reasons, the Royals are going a little earlier. That actually has been a positive for us because it's made us be even more prepared, even more in advanced. So to your question, we have a plan for that, and we have a plan if we go a different direction, and we're prepared for that. We've been working on that April timeline, which they brought to us, and we're prepared for it. So I feel really confident that we have some really cool options. I'm excited to share that, and we'll share it when we know what our plan is.
But you guys don't have a preference on whether or not you're alone in a Jackson County vote or partnered with them in a Jackson County vote?
No, I wouldn't say we have a preference. We can make either option work.
Mark, another one for me. And you mentioned World Cup. Any new stuff you have for us for timelines or construction or any of that right now?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to realize that the modifications that we need to do for the World Cup are over the next 3 years. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with field. Everyone talks about the field dimensions, but there's a lot of technology within the field as well, and that has to be done over time. We're also doing that in the middle of playing football seasons, right? In the middle of having summer record-breaking concert summers. So we're trying to schedule that all out. Again, our team, the operations team, the folks involved with construction, the partners and vendors that we deal with, it's a complicated puzzle. We feel confident in what we're doing with the plan, working very closely with the local organizing committee and the leaders there. Matt Kenny represents us on those, and he's in the middle of all of that. And again, it's a little self-serving, but think about this. Like, Matt and his team are spending 40 to 50% of their day on World Cup today. We have a game on Saturday, and we have a season to kick off on next Thursday. That's the commitment we're making to the World Cup, and it's going to be a multi-year commitment.
So you still anticipate this next off season, like right when the season's over, probably starting some of that construction stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to do some stuff this off season and every off season through 26, and then we're going to have to do construction again right after the World Cup, getting ready for the NFL season to kick off in that August or September of 26.
Interesting stuff there from Mark Donovan and what turned out to be, I guess, a one-on-one with Todd Lebo. But, hey, you know what? Good on you, Todd. I'm surprised he didn't ask him about what he thought about the Astros cheating scandal.
Anytime I can write down the phrase
so
Lebo supercut in the cuts, I'm happy with it.
That's absolutely right. And he hasn't gone to supercuts in a long time,
hey.
has Todd. A couple of things from that the Chiefs have said, and Mark Donovan saying that, look, our lease runs till 2031. That's what we focused on. The Royals have a different time frame for obvious reasons for them. I would love for him to go through the obvious reasons, but the Royals have a different time frame and timeline, but we've looked at 2031 as our lease. And then saying that when it comes with the Royals and the lease, he said, we're working with the April timeline that they are. We're also working with their April timeline. So thinking that everything is sort of on pace for that they are all at least of the same trajectory and time frame, whether that be constrained or not, to get on that April ballot, that's what the Chiefs are working towards with the Royals, that they're all they're not slow playing it and saying, we don't need to be on April. I don't care. If we're on April or we're on next year, we're looking at 2031, that at least the negotiations and conversations are with that focus of April.
Yeah, some of the bigger questions I didn't expect Donovan to give us the answer to is like, hey, so you say you communicate a lot with the Royals. How does it feel when you communicate with the Royals? What's the energy of that communication? And I think you just touched on what it could be if it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, we're going to let them do their thing, and then they can bring us their plan at the end. The fact that this sounds like an active communication plan makes it seem like everybody's getting along and singing Kumbaya at least. And then I don't know, this isn't the, quote, obvious reason to me, and this might just be a little happy side effect from the Royals side, but I mentioned this yesterday or a couple days ago. I do have to think that if you were planning on keeping both teams in Jackson County, that the team who would want to ask for funding first would feel like they would have an easier time. But hey, we haven't built a new stadium in these parts in quite a while. We're moving baseball downtown to the city. Come on, let's go. Who wants to build this? And then the next team is like, hey, we know that you're still very much paying for this project currently going on downtown, but we want a new Arrowhead. Now, the part that I think isn't going to end up affecting it at all is that the Royals have bad vibes and the Chiefs have great ones right now. And I just think that the way that the public treats that will be different, even though it won't necessarily be a difference in economic impact reports. That's where it becomes kind of an aesthetic vote, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Right.
It shouldn't be. But I do wonder if that was one of the things the Royals thought, you know what, let us get the head start here. You guys will have 2031. You can figure it out. And maybe the obvious reason is just new ownership, new way to build some infrastructure to make more money, and that's obvious enough. I don't know. It's
an interesting point because first to the ballot maybe has a better chance of getting the funding because second to the ballot is like, hold on, we just did this.
We just did it.
With the stadium. Maybe the obvious reason is, well, going first makes it a little bit easier, and I don't think they want to be second and the Royals.
Yes.
As opposed to being second and the Chiefs, what they're doing. Second and the Royals, well, you know what? Godspeed.
Exactly.
Good luck on that, on your travels on the Oregon Trail, because even a broken leg's going to kill you.
The dysentery is right
That's
there.
Right.
Being first.
You break a wheel, you're done.
Being first and the Royals guarantees you nothing. Being second and the Chiefs is probably going to be kind of a neutral, still a little bit of a tug of war there, maybe. But being second and the Royals would be yet another thing they have to battle uphill against, and they've got enough of those right now.
First in the Chiefs might be a slam dunk.
Yep.
Second in the Chiefs, I think they'll be fine.
I do too.
First in the Royals, I don't think they would be this far down the road if they didn't feel confident that somehow, some way, they'd find a way to get it passed.
Yeah.
Second in the Royals, we're going to say a Kaufman forever.
Yeah, right. We will make it work.
Forever.
Bring your own plywood. We're going to go ahead and just board some things up.
Forever.
We'll figure it out.
That's right. Little nugget from the Denver Broncos and their joint practice today. Who are they with? The Cowboys? Joint practice?
Actually don't know.
But it's a joint practice today that they were doing, whether that matters or not. Jerry Jeudy has been carted off, and it doesn't seem like it's not a knee or anything like that. He was running, I guess, an end around and immediately stopped and grabbed the back of his upper leg and then needed help to hobble over to the cart, never putting pressure on the leg again. So if it was like a non-contact knee, you'd be like, oh no. Like Treylon Burks, ended up being like, 3-4 weeks, something like that. Hamstrings can linger, though. And if it's bad enough to where he immediately stops and then is getting help to the cart, yeah, it could be a pretty bad one. And something like that could just be hanging around. I mean, is it bad enough to where you're like, yeah, I don't know that he's going to be able to play in 17 days, from now. Those things can be sometimes a month, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes more. So the Denver Broncos wide receiver, unit that is now sort of a mash unit with an Achilles, an illness, and now what could be a severe hamstring for Jerry Jeudy. So
Broncos and Rams, by the way.
Rams, okay.
Not that it really matters. And
Yeah.
it's one of the
I don't know why
things,
I thought Cowboys,
if you bought into the Broncos having a better year this year for reasons beyond Sean Payton, you could say, hey, they had really bad injury luck last year. They're certainly going to revert to the mean a little now. And then again, here we are.
It's just lucky for them that they didn't play Jeudy and Tim Patrick in a preseason game. You don't want to get those guys hurt.
It is kind of wild.
In a preseason game. You'd hate to have that happen. Treylon Burks, you don't want him to play in a preseason game because you don't want to risk getting those guys hurt because nobody's ever been injured in practice before.
Never happened.
Ever. You know what does happen? Sports or leisure happens.
It happens to us, at least.
On Thursdays at 1, typically.
Oh, yeah?
What time is it?
Hey, that's 5 minutes from now.
Hey, give us a call, would you?
Hey, it's Brian Haney, voice of the Jayhawks, and Matt Llewellyn here at the beautiful 23rd Street Brewery patio with our...
more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com. You're into sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, let's play a little sports or leisure. 913-381-0810. Sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. Best sports bar in Kansas City. 10 locations, including Lawrence and Topeka. It is Johnny's Tavern, and $25 we will be giving away for the winner of Johnny's. We're not even giving it away. I mean, you're earning it.
You're earning it. You got to win it. You got to take it.
Yes. We don't just willy-nilly just throw these gift cards off the balcony here anymore. No, you've got to actually answer a couple of questions to be able to get $25 at Johnny's Tavern. A sports question and a leisure question. If you get either of them wrong, you lose, but the question is out there available for someone to call in and request. If they know the answer to it, they can be, closer to winning the prize. If they don't know the answer to it, well, then, you're like everybody else, maybe. But we'll give out the answer when it's either answered correctly or we have just simply run out of time to play the game anymore, and then we'll tell you what the right answer is. So that is how you play. 913-381-0810 is the phone number to play as well. Here are the categories. On the sports side, we have Major League Baseball. We also have Chiefs training camp stars and Chiefs holdouts. So training camp stars and Chiefs holdouts, sort of the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Holdouts are the Chiefs absent training camp players and Chiefs training camp stars. Those are the categories today. Just the three: Major League Baseball, and then Chiefs training camp and Chiefs holdouts.
On the leisure side, we got 4 for you. We have the remainder of the unidentified flying trivia category, having to do with something in the intergalactic space. It's not like space trivia. It's mostly alien stuff. Then we have What Could It IMDb TV, which we debuted last week. I will give you the synopsis of a well-known television show from IMDb. You got to tell me what the show's from.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You ask a question, I'll give you something there from the MCU that you should know. And then Spell Ya Later, which is a degree up from the commonly misspelled word spelling bee. That became a little bit of an easy button in my mind for callers who really had something like this. Isn't the finale of the spelling bee that's televised, but I think we're going to get a little bit bigger of a challenge here than we had in weeks past when I just needed someone to spell boutonniere for me.
Ah, yes, that's right.
Still going to try to do that.
Yes, you were just needing help. You didn't want to look it up.
No.
You just thought about that at the time because you got a text from, at that time, fiance Renee. You're like, oh, no.
Like, oh, it's
and I don't even think she spelled it right.
For weeks now, I've been failing to pick my boutonniere.
That's exactly right. Some other news in the around the sports world today, and then we'll get started with sports or leisure. We mentioned Jerry Jeudy. Isaiah Simmons has been traded from the Arizona Cardinals to the New York Giants for a 7th-round draft pick. And the news that came out late last night, which is pretty depressing, and that is Shohei Ohtani has a torn UCL, will not pitch again this season, and we'll see if, he pitches again.
Yeah.
Or what team that signs him. How much money did he lose? He lose $100 million by tearing the UCL? It sucks, man, because right now, OPS plus, the number one player in the league, is Shohei Ohtani. ERA plus, the number one player in the league, is Shohei Ohtani right now. It's, going to stay, probably not. But right now, that snapshot is, one guy. It's just historic what he's been doing. And it sucks because there's now the chance that maybe he doesn't pitch again. Buster Olney saying that, maybe he transitions to a back of the bullpen guy. And, he doesn't have to go every 5 days or so. And then, you're now a reliever. You come in the 8th or 9th and you do that while you're also, hitting, 50 home runs in a season. So
Shohei Ohtani becoming a nasty closer while also hitting 50 bombs is pretty neat. That would be cool.
Freaking John Smoltz while mashing at a 700 slugging percentage.
That's the thing that's like, I guess, if you want the silver lining here, you just lost Clayton Kershaw, but the same guy is still, not quite Barry Bonds, I guess, but might be Mike Trout. He might be Mike Trout, who's also hurt again, by the way. Oh, my God. Poor Angels.
Mike Trout came off the IL for a day. What a rough night for the Angels.
Brutal.
Trout's back. Tiny baby. What's up? Trout. Oh, well, at least Ohtani is. What the heck? Well, thank God they didn't trade Ohtani, though. Thank goodness they did not trade Ohtani.
Man, I mean, just a sickening feeling. Forget Angels in the outfield. They got Angels on the IL.
Mm-hmm.
Sad.
Yeah.
The trilogy was not a good one. I think it was Angels in the outfield, Angels in the infield, right. Angels on the IL. And it was a real Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Godfather 3 kind of thing.
That's right.
I've often compared Angels in the outfield to Godfather 1.
Yeah, so you're saying Angels in the infield was better than Angels in the outfield?
I'm saying a lot of people believe that, but it's very close. They're both clearly some of the best of all time.
Some could argue.
Many could argue.
Yes.
Spin the wheel. All right, I'm going to go ahead and argue that the Angels in the outfield movies are better than The Godfather. Here we go.
All right, 913-381-0810. I'm ready to play. Josh, you good to go?
I'm good to go. I got arm fatigue, but other than that, I'm good to go. I know Dylan's got arm fatigue. Dylan, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
That sounded too enthusiastic.
A little too enthusiastic?
Yeah.
That'll go in time.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's just, you just see the youthful naivety. It's just the youthful innocence of a Dylan. Oh, so cute.
Some could say a youthful ignorance, but
Yes,
they say ignorance is bliss. So
yeah,
close your eyes and pot up the phone and enjoy the ride.
Just want to squeeze those cheeks. Just so cute. He's adorable.
He is adorable.
As some would say.
Look how adorable Dylan is. If you'd like to date Dylan, 913-381-0810.
Date adorable Dylan. Dang it.
Dad.
Darlin'.
Dad. Date adorable Dylan. Our acronym is DAD.
Oh, yeah.
Make Dylan a dad.
No. Let's not do that.
Let's not do
Dylan,
that.
that was this guy over there.
I did. Whoa.
Dylan immediately dropped the phone and looked at you like, listen, man, if you want to fight, keep talking.
All right.
Actually, we have a bunch of takers now.
Oh,
so
that's good.
That's what happened.
Phone boards are full.
Yes.
For sports or leisure or Dylan, which one would you like first?
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Charles leads us off here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. A little sports or leisure. Charles, what side would you like to start with, sir?
I just want to say that my wife's almost favorite baseball movie is Angels in the Outfield. So
it's up there. It belongs.
Absolutely right. Yeah. What is her favorite then? Almost favorite is Angels in the Outfield. What's her favorite?
What's my favorite?
Well, what's hers? You said I thought you said her almost favorite is.
Yeah, it's probably top 3, but my favorite's I like Major League or Bull Durham.
Yeah. I was really hoping you would say, well, her actual favorite is Angels in the Infield. No, when I was a child, I liked Angels in the Outfield. It was
pretty judgy.
No, not at all. You know what? You're fine. Josh, hey, you know what, Charles? You're going to win. You know why? Because you got an angel with you right now.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, you do. What side do you want to start with, sir? Sports or leisure?
Let's do that alien category, please.
All right. This work of alien fiction is as well known for the lore around its radio play as for its written version or its mini film adaptations, ranging from Orson Welles to Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Wasn't
this the wrong category today?
Wasn't this?
This one's in there for you. I think you'll find it.
This was one of those where after the original one, they had to start giving out like disclaimers even during presentations and during shows, because after the first disclaimer, if you then tuned in while that was happening, people thought it was actually going on right then.
I learned about this quite a bit in a multimedia class in college. Today, pulling more together to bulk up this category, I saw that there is now some debate as to the seriousness with which the purported panic came.
Really?
Specifically, well, I don't want to say, I said radio already.
Yeah,
Specifically because there was, and I have not verified any of this. It was from Wikipedia, Tungsten Armor Doyle's page.
Just say it.
But it was specifically like a way to undercut radio as an honest news medium. That there was like this whole idea like, oh, you can't even tell on radio. You can't trust radio. Kind of interesting. We learned that today.
Well, August 20th was National Radio Day.
Was it really?
It was. My nephew wished me a happy National Radio Day.
What did he get you?
And I said, boy, they really have a day for everything, don't they? They have a day for everything.
Are we looking like a new age movie, like early 2000s or beyond, or?
I guess.
Well, it's been adapted. It's been here's your one last big hint, and then I'm going to stop giving hints. It's been adapted across various platforms for almost 100 years now.
Yeah.
I'll take a sort of a wrong guess and say War of the Worlds.
Not a wrong guess at all. An absolutely correct guess. Wow, what a jab.
It's a great guess, Charles. War of the Worlds is correct. On to the sports side. What you think in Major League Baseball, training camp stars or holdouts?
I'm going to be blanking on the holdouts. Let's go with the MLB.
All right, MLB for you. Let's see. Oh man, I don't know that I want to go with that one, but let's do it. You know what? I'm not going to go with that one. Let's do this one. Ronald Acuna stole his 55th base last week. Who was the last player in Major League Baseball to have at least 25 home runs and 55 stolen bases in a season?
25, 55.
Mm-hmm. Not currently playing, and he is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, wow.
And if you were to answer it, if I'm speaking for you, you might say, Charles knows the answer to this. And Charles is going to say this because I know Charles is this good at answering.
You're giving Charles a lot of time to work here today.
And Charles is going to win.
Oh, gosh. 25 home runs, 55 SBs in the season.
Jason thinks you can get this right. And Jason doesn't always think people will get questions right.
Josh thinks you've gotten a lot of hints today, Charles.
But Jason thinks you can nail this one.
Jason. Oh, gosh.
The clock. The clock. What is it, Stranger Things?
Feels like it. I'm dying out here.
So you're wanting the last person to do that
in
the MLB?
Yep. Let's throw a dart. I think the buzzer's going to sound.
Hanley Ramirez?
Hanley's not a bad guess, by the way. It's a pretty good guess, but not correct. Charles, thank you for playing, man. Appreciate it, sir. And I thought you had an angel with you this time, but next time you get that.
Right. There we go.
Yes,
yep.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it, man. 913-381-810-810. We'll see if anybody knows the answer to that one. John, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Let's start with sports with the Chiefs training camp holdouts.
Chiefs training camp holdouts. Okay. This player set a record in the NFL the season before entering his final year of his rookie contract. Based on that performance and being the most important player on the offense, he had good reason to want a long-term contract. He ended up missing the first 2 preseason games before signing a 6-year extension, but unfortunately for the Chiefs, he'd only played 27 more games for the Chiefs and bounced around between a number of teams and played 7 more after that before leaving the league.
Larry Johnson?
Hey, well done, Larry Johnson. Yeah, nice job. LJ, he had set the record for, 416 rushing attempts in one season? And they're like, let's give you a 6-year extension.
We think you're going to be here forever.
I don't think the tread's worn off on those tires.
No.
I have a feeling you're not going to have a foot injury this year and only play, 20 games the next couple of years and then get traded to the Bengals. I've got a pretty good feeling about this, or whatever they did.
You've got 3,500 more carries than you, right?
At least 35 more.
Yeah.
All right, on the leisure side.
You know what category you'd like?
Let's do the spelling one.
All right, let's test the new spelling waters here. The word I'm asking you to spell today is precocious. Precocious.
Precocious. Can you use it in a sentence?
Of a child having developed certain abilities or proclivities at an earlier age than usual. He was a precocious, solitary boy. What a sad usage of that word, dictionary.com.
Precocious.
That's absolutely correct.
Yes, that is correctious.
That
John,
is
well
correctious. Your win is infectious. You're going to Johnny's Tavern, and you can get the bestest.
Thank you, fellas.
All right, thank you, John. I appreciate it, man.
I was up in the air.
Put you on hold there, and
Find the rhyme.
I was waiting
Slate
for.
rhyme?
I was going to let him sit out there. I was going to let Josh sit out there and see if he had another one to get to, and if he didn't, just let him dangle. Just let him dangle there.
Let me dangle.
All right, Matt, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB, a little sports or leisure in the zone. Matt, for $25, Johnny's Tavern. What side do you want to start with, sports or leisure?
I will try that MLB one out there.
Yes, Ronald Acuna stole his 55th base last week. Who was the last player to have at least 25 home runs and 55 stolen bases in a season? The hints we gave were just simply, third person talking.
How about Ricky Henderson?
That's correct. Ricky would tell everybody that Ricky is the last one to do that. Ronald Acuna reminds Ricky of Ricky. Well done. On to the leisure side.
We got UFOs, IMDb TV, the MCU, and spelling. What do you like?
IMDb TV, please.
All right, let's see if we can IMDb better at this week. This show follows a world-famous televangelist family with a long tradition of deviance, greed, and charitable work.
I like it. How about that? You come up with a question as you're so new to it.
Nice and vague.
You get introduced to it 2 weeks ago, and you've already got a question about it.
We've talked about it on this show. That's the one additional hint I'll give you. We talked about it plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've actually never seen this, but I think it's The Righteous
Nice.
Gemstone.
That is correct.
Well done.
You got it. You don't have to have seen all these shows to know what it feels like, and that's what it was. And that means you're going to Johnny's Tavern. Wow, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, righteous, Matt. Nice job. We'll put you
Super
on.
duper.
Nice job, Matt. 913-381-810 is the phone number to join us to play a little sports or leisure. A couple of winners already for Johnny's Tavern, $25. Let's hear from, Andrew is next up on Sports Radio 810, a little sports or leisure. Andrew, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Let's go leisure and Marvel. You guys got me on that She-Hulk, and I'd never seen it, so go Marvel. We'll try to make up for it.
Good job, Josh.
All right. Look, I've washed my hands of this category. I've mentioned many times. Former intern Dylan did the legwork here because I wouldn't know ones like this. Who is the firstborn child of Thor's father, Odin?
Hela.
That was a hella good answer.
Hell, that's what I was going to say, too. That's absolutely correct.
Nice job.
Dylan's on the phone. Ding, ding. It's fine. Don't worry about it, Dylan.
Ding,
You're
ding.
good.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding.
There you go. That's you got an answer right for that one.
That was in one of those Thor movies I didn't see, I imagine, now that I think about it. That was what's her name, right? With the big horns?
And by the Thor movie,
Ragnarok.
by the Thor movie you didn't see would be all of them.
I did see Ragnarok, actually.
Well, how about that?
I watched a lot. I just got superhero burnout at some point in the last round of MCU stuff, and so I've faded.
You've gotten tired of the superhero movie becoming the new comedy?
Yeah,
no great comedies animour. Well, they're all superhero movies, like Deadpool. It's just a comedy.
Get Deadpool. I'll go back for Deadpool 3.
Yeah, dressed as a superhero movie.
Yeah.
My gosh, when was the last great comedy that came out? Anyway, Andrew, sports side, we got Major League Baseball, Chiefs training camp stars, and Chiefs holdouts.
Oh, man. Gosh. Can I get that Chris Jones question?
That's awesome. Well, good try. I love it. No, Chris Jones is not an answer.
I'll try holdouts.
Okay, holdouts for you. All right. Before the new CBA in 2011, rookie holdouts were more common practice. The Chiefs dealt with one themselves, a famous one in Chiefs history, filled with drama, missing practices, and even impromptu press conference by the player's agent, recreating things said in the negotiation with the GM. And thanks to Todd Lebo and his phone, we got it all live on Sports Radio 810, F-bombs and all. He would sign right before the season, but missed the first 2 games on the exempt list because he wasn't ready to play. Needless to say, he didn't sign a second contract in Kansas City.
Right. Oh, man. So it's before 2011, so it doesn't really give me...
It was a very, maybe the most contentious holdout that people can think of. And then the press conference, Todd Lebo just held his phone up to Ethan Locke talking. And that's when he recreated what the GM at the time had said to this player, including the F-bombs, which ultimately resulted in the GM calling said player's father and apologizing for cursing because said player was pretty religious. Very religious family, said player.
Huh.
Pretty good player, too, by the way. Wasn't a bust or anything. But it is fascinating before the CBA when it's like you can negotiate all these different you can negotiate how much you wanted, years and all of those things, like, 5-year
I remember
deals. And...
didn't Dontari Poe hold out, but that was after that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good player.
Yeah, it was a good player.
Man. Offense, defense, come on.
Oh, we gave you the year.
I didn't hear you say the year.
No, we did not give him the year. We just said before 2011 CBA.
Oh, that's okay.
Because the 2011 CBA with the rookie contracts and the rookie scale and everything.
He told you it was a rookie thing.
4-year contract with the 5th-year option, all of those things being changed. It was before Poe.
Justin Houston.
Justin Houston, that's close because I think he held out 6 times, but that is incorrect, Andrew. Thank you for playing, man. Boy, it should have been Bobby Scipio. What if we'd have said?
Oh yeah, why didn't I get Bobby Scipio? He was a holdout, wasn't he?
You know what, Andrew? Here's the thing: if you would have chosen Chiefs training camp stars, I left the Bobby Scipio question on here just in case you called and chose that one.
Oh man, I should have done that.
If you would have called and said you had that Bobby Scipio question, he would have said yes.
Would have said I got one actually.
I thought I'd get it for saying Chris Jones. So
yeah, there you go, Andrew. Thank you for playing, man. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
I feel like maybe the layups of the Bobby Scipio the last 2 weeks for him, the randomness and how odd he got the same question. 1, I forgot I had given out the question. 2, it was the same exact caller. 3, he had got it last year.
Yeah, incredible. We need to see if we can reverse engineer more Bobby Scipio questions. Just have a Bobby Scipio category where he's the answer to all of them. Or we could reverse engineer and say, all right, it's like Jeopardy rules, I guess. The category is Bobby Scipio, but it's...
No, what it is
he did it this college.
It's a random category that people don't know. Every single question ends up being Bobby Scipio as the answer.
So we have to just call it like a Chiefs grab bag or something.
Or just random something in the NFL or whatever. And it just happens to be that something in Bobby Scipio's life, the answer was Bobby Scipio, to see how long it takes before people are like, I guess I'll try that category there. And they're like, oh, wait, every answer is Bobby Scipio. I'll just take that category over there.
This Chiefs training camp star, hold on.
I'll take that Bobby Scipio question. Which one?
You've got several to choose from.
Let's go to Sean next. 913-381-810 to play a little sports or leisure. $25 to Johnny's Tavern on the line. 913-381-810. Sean, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do some spelling.
Let's do some spelling. Your word is inconvenience.
That shouldn't be an inconvenience.
No. Okay, so we got INCONVENIENCE.
Nice.
Every time this category just reminds me that I'm not as good at spelling as I thought I was.
Yeah.
Because I feel like these are tough, and then I just get dunked on.
No, that was a pretty easy one, but that's fine. Sean, on to the sports side, sir. Major League Baseball, Chiefs training camp stars and Chiefs holdouts.
I think I want to try that.
Bobby Scipio question?
No, probably not.
That's not the answer.
He did not hold out. Okay. No, Bobby Scipio was not a holdout. Would have been amazing if he held out to try to get a better contract from the Arena League. Like, no, I'm not showing up to camp. Like,
I'll go play inside again. I don't care. It's air conditioned in there.
Okay, you're not showing up to camp? I don't think you know how this works, bud. Which one are you thinking?
Well, I don't know.
You want the holdouts category, the holdouts question that's out there, new question?
Yeah, go ahead. Can you repeat that again real quick?
Yeah, before the new CBA in 2011, rookie holdouts a common practice. This very famous holdout was filled with drama, missed the entire preseason training camp. There was an impromptu press conference by the player's agent who then said what the GM at the time said to his player, including F-bombs that were live on the air right here. He signed right before the season, missed the first 2 games. Did not sign a second contract in KC because at that point the relationship was toast. But a good player.
I don't know. I remember it was quite a bit before 2011 though, right?
It was. Mm-hmm.
It's the lineman guy.
Oh, you're heading there. That's right.
That was a long time ago, though. What was his name?
Hmm.
What was his name? He was a big dude.
He was. And you know what? Played just fine over on the right side. Drafted at the left side, but then they went and got Rofe. And he was perfectly fine there.
John Tate.
There you go. Nice job. John Tate. Who ended up signing with the Bears in his second contract. But yes, John Tate, BYU, Mormon. Carl Peterson ended up calling his dad and apologizing for cursing around his son. And then when John Tate went to go sign the contract after agreeing to the deal, the Chiefs told his agent, need not apply. Please, you don't need to be here, Ethan Locke. In fact, you're not going to come in the building. So he didn't even show up when his client signed the
We'll
new
fax
contract.
it to you. We'll get you a copy.
That's probably one of the most contentious ones with Carl Peterson because it became public when the agent's like, here's what just took place in this meeting that we stormed out of. He was F-bombing this and that. Is that a win, right?
That's a win.
Yes, no,
that's a win.
Right. That
no
was not
inconvenience
inconvenient.
there.
Yeah, Sean, we'll put you on hold. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Nice job. 913-381-810 is the phone number, 913-381-810. We do need to take a break. We'll take a short one. We'll come back, and we'll continue playing some sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern, 913-381-810. First in, first on. We got some more gift cards to give away. That's coming up next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
913-381-810. We're playing Sports or Leisure. $25 at Johnny's Tavern. We've already got a few winners already. I mean, we are just tossing gift cards out left and right.
Making it rain Johnny's. God, it'd be so cool if it rained Johnny's.
Espinachos.
You've seen, that'd be a little messy, maybe a little hot. We might need it to cool down first. The atmosphere would cool in as it falls.
I mean, if all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops and espinachos, oh, what a rain that would be.
Just cracked my knee on the desk, the hardest I've ever cracked my knee on the desk. I might need a minute. Oh, sorry. I'm going to be over here.
You're good.
My kneecap is on the side of my leg.
It happens.
We're winning a Super Bowl, Jason.
Won't sneak anymore. 913-381-810 is the phone number. We got a couple of open phone lines right now if you call in, first on, but we bring in Shane next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Shane, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Leisure, guys. I want to do, what could an IMDb?
Yeah. All right, let's do it. I'm in significant pain, so you get an easy.
Are you really? Is that really?
It really did feel very bad. Sheriff Deputy Rick Grimes wakes up from a coma to learn that the world is in ruins and must lead a group of survivors to stay alive.
Oh, wow.
I believe that's The Walking Dead.
You believe correctly. It's The Walking Dead.
I was toast on that one. I've never seen it. I was about to say, I don't know. I'm out. I can't even help you with hints because I'm Walking Dead over here.
Stupid.
I wouldn't have been able to give that hint because I didn't know the answer.
You would have been like, boy, if you know this one, you're going to be the last of us who do. Which would have been wrong. I don't think that one's on here. I don't think I wrote that one down.
That's exactly right. Boy, I mean, I'll tell you what, if you're wrong on this one, you're going to have a night of living hell. I mean, that's what you were going to have. Wrong again. Damn it.
Man, if you get this one wrong, you're going to be the Shane of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. I don't know, man. I'm trying.
Sports side, Shane.
I don't like when Jason looks at me judgingly for a bad joke. This is a safe space.
Major League No, it's not. Major League Baseball, Chiefs training camp stars, and Chiefs holdouts.
I'm going to try the holdouts, please.
All right. This holdout lasted the entire training camp. His rookie contract, now this is before the 4-year contract and then 5th-year option type deal, so this goes back there as well. So his rookie contract was up, and he wanted a long-term deal, not just the 1-year offer sheet the Chiefs were giving him. His bargaining chip was that he was a 3-time All-Pro player and also the threat he could retire from football and join the NBA, even playing for the Heat's Summer League team. His point was he should be paid commensurate to his production rather than stuck making the rate of his actual position.
Well, said NBA. I'm a little lost, but he said he could play basketball. I'm thinking of one guy that's probably the best at his position for us, other than one person that's playing right now. God, I hate to guess this and be wrong. It seems obvious, but
Well, it'd be worse if you didn't guess that and you were wrong, and then that was the answer. You'd be even more mad at yourself.
I know. So I'm just going to say Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, it is Tony Gonzalez. He wanted to be paid as a wide receiver because he had wide receiver numbers. And they're like, no, you're a tight end. And he's like, well, I'll just go play basketball then. I'll just go play on the Heat Summer League team, which he did. And then Pat Riley, I think, later said that if Tony Gonzalez played basketball and gave up football at that point, he wouldn't have been a star, but he would have been a 10-year NBA player.
That's crazy. I don't think that was Pat Riley?
Yeah. I mean, he played for the Heat's Summer League team.
Yeah,
So, yeah, Pat Riley was like, this guy.
That's just high praise, I'm saying, is like.
For his athleticism and how he could play. Like, he was a rebounder, though. I mean, he
that makes sense.
He was just grabbing a big body guy.
That dude's crashing the boards.
He was boxing guys out like he does on a football field, is what he was. Yeah.
Picture of him in a Summer League game. His arms are bigger than entire players around him.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, he was, he's pretty good. I think he's one of the greatest that ever lived at his position, power forward. That's just me. Shane, that's a winner, right?
That's a winner.
I mean, we are just giving things away. It's Everybody Wins Thursday.
Super duper.
Well done, Shane. Nice job. Tony Gonzalez, the holdout there in 2002. Because I think it was a full 5-year contract was up. Because first rounders were getting like 5-year deals. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. 913-381-0810. Let's go to Ryan next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ryan, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Hey, guys, let's do that, the TV category.
IMDb
Ooh, the IMDb TV.
Yeah.
Level-headed son Michael takes over family affairs after his father is imprisoned, but the rest of his spoiled, dysfunctional family are making his job unbearable.
Oh, man. Was this on like a cable channel?
Boy, where did it air originally? I think it's had a couple of homes ultimately. I don't think it was on terrestrial TV the first time.
I don't know the right answer right now. I've got a couple in mind.
Oh, you don't know the answer to the question. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to mime?
Can you repeat it one more time?
Yes,
Yeah.
and there's also.
Will you repeat the answer one more time?
I took out just a last name of a character because I think that'll bring it along. But yes,
I know the answer to it.
Level-headed son Michael takes over family affairs after his father is imprisoned, but the rest of his spoiled, dysfunctional family are making his job unbearable.
Oh man,
it has had multiple. Yeah.
It was on Fox first, I guess.
Yeah.
I watched it streaming later. So,
and then they brought back another season for no reason.
2 seasons for no reasons.
Ugh.
The guy from Ozark.
A lot of people from Ozark, though. I mean, you go down there. There's a ton of people that live there.
Arrested Development.
Hey, nice job. Well done, Ryan.
Good work.
Nice job, Ryan.
That cast is crazy, man. Jason Bateman,
Yeah.
Michael Cera, Will Arnett, Jessica Walter, and Ellen's wife. That was just a wild thing for me to realize. That,
Yeah.
oh, that's Portia. I've heard of her.
Yeah.
Tony Hale is so good.
Yes.
Oh, that show's good. Well, that show was good.
Did Ryan get Tony Gonzalez? Or no, that was Shane.
No, that was Shane getting the back end of the whatever question I had before that.
Yeah, so Ryan needs
a sports
side.
question.
All right, Chiefs holdouts, Chiefs training camp stars, and Major League Baseball.
Let's go holdout.
Chiefs holdouts for you. Okay. The holdout that never was. Let's do this one. I like this. This is fun. The holdout that never was, Ryan, and the semantics in reporting as to who was right. The report, this player was prepared to hold out. The conflicting report that came out right after that of, actually the Chiefs expect this player to show. Which one was right? Well, he reported to camp with the veterans. Maybe a few hours later than expected, but he then let the public know he was never going to hold out. He just ran out of gas on his way to camp and had to walk the rest of the way. That's why he was a few hours late, although his game speed would make it very rare that he would be late for anything.
Oh, man.
Do you remember that, Josh?
I do not remember that excuse.
But
So
do you know who I'm talking about? Oh,
I don't.
Wow.
No, I don't, and I really hate it. I hate not knowing ones like this that feel like there's an obvious answer that most people are yelling at the radios.
Let me think here. I think it is current coaching staff. How about that? Not necessarily current regime.
Yeah.
But current coaching staff.
Was the run part a hint?
It was.
It sounded like it.
But this became sort of the for a day it was a huge deal of like, well, they're saying he's going to hold out. This person's saying he's not going to hold out. Who's right? Well, somebody's rah. It's like, well, technically they were both right because the report was he's preparing to hold out, and the other report was the Chiefs expect him to be there. I mean, those can both be absolutely true. And I think they both were true, by the way, until he got the deal.
Like Larry Johnson comes to mind, but he's already been an answer.
It ain't Larry Johnson. Nope.
Was he after Larry Johnson?
He was. Current coaching staff.
Jamal Charles?
Yeah, Jamal Charles. Well done.
I don't remember Jamal Charles. I thought about Jamal Charles. And, well, I would know the story of I ran out of gas and then just had to jog up here.
Yeah, he said he ran out of gas and it was a long walk, so he couldn't make it. That's why he was a few hours late. When in reality, he was a few hours late because they were dealing with stuff.
Yeah,
that was the preparing to hold out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Jamal Charles, that's a winner, Ryan.
That's a winner.
Nice job. Ryan, we'll put you on.
Super duper.
Yes. Love it. Yes, let's keep that going.
Super duper makes me happy every time.
I agree. 913-381-0810. Hey, let's bring in Brian to the conversation. Brian, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Well, I got to say I'm a little bummed out. The only Arrested Development question you've had since Corey left, and I even had that Jamal Charles question in my head as I dialed.
Oh.
I'm feeling less confident, but let's do more training camp holdout.
All right, training camp holdout for you. I have two left. I'm not sure which one I want to go with.
Did I say holdouts then? I meant All-Stars?
No, I mean they're both names. Like both of the holdouts are names. I'm just figuring out which one I want to go with here. Let's do it this one. This name has actually been brought up already in this hour. This was a perpetual holdout conversation for a number of different years regarding this specific player. His rookie contract was signed after holding out a week of camp. He wanted the money he felt he deserved based on his ability rather than where he was actually drafted because of some of the issues that came up off the field. It wasn't the last holdout conversation. Oh, no. A couple of years later, he wanted a new deal and threatened to hold out yet again. Without a new deal, he did decide to report, only to bring up the conversation the very next year that he is not going to sign his franchise tag, and in fact, he'll sit out till week 10. Didn't come to that. He signed a long-term deal before training camp.
I remember this
Oh, man, that sounds a lot like Tyreek Hill.
No.
I mean, is that an answer? Is that a question? Are you asking?
Come on.
It was, no.
It's also Jamal Charles, weirdly.
Very recent.
It wasn't as recent as like a Tyreek Hill or a Chris Jones, but current staff or current coaching staff, different regime.
Current coaching staff.
That is interesting, boy.
Current head coach.
Current coaching staff, different front office regime.
The staff has changed some. So I don't know if there's like a because it's a different. Yeah.
But same
head coach.
Yeah.
Different but the same. Got it. Yep.
Different.
Thanks for spinning me in that circle,
different
Josh.
person. That's the boss of the head coach. Coaching staff still the same.
Well, different defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
different
but
offensive coordinator.
I'm more saying
We're years beyond.
I'm more saying different guy negotiating
For sure.
with said player, but same coaching staff that the Chiefs are still here with.
Throw a dart, Justin Houston.
Justin Houston's right.
Justin Houston's right. Bob Sutton's not here. That's me being nitpicky, you know.
Right, but I was saying John Dorsey versus Brett Veach.
Right, I understand. But the head coach is the same. The coaching staff below Andy Reid is different than back then.
You're right.
Different scheme and
said,
stuff.
Like same
but,
head coach, different head coach's boss.
But different head coach's boss being the main difference there.
Yeah, which by the way, same thing with Jamal Charles.
Yes.
Dorsey instead of Veach, but deal got done. That is a winner, correct? Right?
No, we got to bring you back over.
That's right. That is only one. It's only the leisure.
He was ready for Arrested Development and Jamal Charles.
Yeah, can I get that Arrested Development question?
There's always money in the banana stand, okay?
I can, I'll work on an Arrested Development category. That seems fun. I can give you another IMDb TV question if you're feeling confident in that realm.
Was there a missed one out there?
No, we're all fresh
No?
ones.
Okay. Let's do, I guess, UFOs.
Ooh, okay. This I'm gonna move down here to this one. Known as Experiment 626 before his landing in Hawaii, this super strong animated alien wreaks havoc while learning the meaning of family.
Was this an animated alien by chance?
Animated alien.
I didn't know the aliens were animated when they came to Earth. That is crazy.
This specific.
They're highly animated.
Super strong animated.
I'm gonna guess that was Stitch.
That is Stitch! From Lilo and Stitch. Absolutely correct.
Super
Experiment
duper.
626. Super duper indeed.
That's right. Brian, we'll put you on hold. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Good poll, Brian.
913-381-0810. I was thinking, like, there's an animated alien. It's like Space Jam. Like, it's just all of a sudden, it's just animation around real people.
Well, let me add
Not what
Space
you
Jam
guys
to
do.
one of these two, because that's a good one.
Yeah,
Say that for next week.
Right. The Monstars, they were aliens. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back and wrap up the show and sports or leisure next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, playing some sports or leisure is presented by Johnny's Tavern. I think we have time for one more to see if we can get one more winner in here.
Sneak it in.
913-381-0810. Let's bring in Phil to the conversation. Phil,
Hey, guys.
Sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Let's try sports, please.
Yeah, that's great because I just put all of my papers away as if the show was over, so that's cool. Nice job, Jason. Found them. Major League Baseball, Chiefs training camp stars, or one more holdout?
Yeah, let's do the holdout.
All right, I've been holding out for this one player. This was a franchise tag holdout that resulted in the player missing all of St. Joe, but returning to camp after the third preseason game. He was coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and wanted a long-term deal. Eventually, a new GM decided he was worth the money and gave him a 5-year extension, only to release him 2 years later.
That Dwayne Bowe.
Dwayne Bowe. Nice
There you
job,
go.
Debo. Boy, the amount of John Dorsey holdout and then give him the money. There's three of them right there.
Yeah, didn't quite work.
Yeah, well, what do you know what? He drafted some Hall of Famers, though. I'll tell you
That's
that
true.
much.
Sure did.
On to the leisure side with Josh.
What category would you like?
Let's do spelling.
All right, you got
Spell some stuff.
got about a minute to work through the word.
Spell some stuff.
Vacillate. You have to vacillate between your options here.
So be swinging back and forth, or is that oscillate?
Vacillate.
Yeah,
Vacillate.
Sorry
I almost started spelling it so you would know what the word was. To
Okay,
alternate
how
or
about-
waver between different opinions or actions.
About VACILLATE.
One more winner before we get out of here. Very
As it
well
should
done.
be. Well done.
No vacillating for you, but you have lots of choices to vacillate between and in the menu at Johnny's Tavern.
Exactly
Super
right.
duper gas.
Absolutely. Thank you, Phil. I believe Ice Cube had the song No Vacillate.
I think that's right.
Right?
I thought that's what you put on your lips.
Oh.
Will vacillate?
Okay, so vacillate is unsteady, one side to the other. Oscillate is a rhythmic,
Yeah, that makes sense.
like a metronome.
I think of a fan, like a fan.
Yeah.
Did you already say like a fan
yeah,
oscillating?
So yeah.
So yeah, that's
So vacillate is unsteady. Oscillate is it's just in rhythm. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. That's a Happy Gilmore line, but don't.
Oh,
worry
that
about
makes sense. Sorry, I was over here oscillating.
it. That was awesome, lady.
That was great.
You know what, Dylan? Great job. I think you did a great job today.
Oh, I'm starting to vacillate. Do I look at you or Dylan?
Yeah, no, I just looked right past you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, you weren't necessarily unsteady from one side or the other. You weren't. But we did give away a lot of winners to Johnny's Tavern.
Sure did.
Got that $25 Johnny's Tavern presenting sports or leisure each and every time we play that particular game. About 15 things on the cutting room floor from the show today.
Oh, that happens.
We'll probably talk about that tomorrow. I'm not sure. We'll see if any other NFL players are compared to strippers in Atlanta.
Need power protection? Wholesale Batteries provides solutions to meet all your UPS power protection requirements. Whether you're protecting workstations, servers, and office data.